Li Qi, Li Qi, Li Qi. In the fighting arena's stands, hundreds of thousands of spectators from the Lava Empire roared the loudest. Each shout was full of raw excitement, faces flushed, voices frayed with hysteria. The Lava Empire's citizens shook the air with their cheers, but they were not alone. People from other star domains, captivated by Li Qi's domineering display on stage, abandoned their own contestants to shout his name. Brother 11, 19 leapt to his feet as the stage free-for-all ended. Sister, Brother 11 is too strong. Most of those geniuses from other star domains couldn't even withstand a single strike from him. I want to be like Brother 11, 19 added, eyes shining. I want to become a powerful cultivator and roam the universe. 18 at his side had the same bright gaze. She barely noticed her younger brother. Li Qi's overwhelming performance had filled her with boundless admiration. 13 watched Li Qi standing on a mind-energy weapon on stage and quietly set a goal for himself. He would enter the next Cosmic Peak Genius battle and prove his worth. Father Derek, watching, was beaming with pride. That was his son, Derek Royce's son, outperforming everyone. On Qianwu continent, in a palace atop Qianwu Mountain, a giant light screen carried footage of Li Qi attacking and killing his opponents in the free-for-all. Hundreds of undying spiritual gods sat before it, their powerful auras filling the hall. Behind them, on a lofty throne that subtly warped the surrounding space, sat a terrifying presence, the founder of the Qianwu Universe Country, the Qianwu Country Lord. Being able to thrust 5 azure wood thorns simultaneously in different directions and still have reserves suggests this young man has more depth to his strength, an undying spiritual god who had risen through the wood origin law mused. Our Qianwu will rank highly in the Cosmic Peak Genius Battle. The Lava World Master benefited greatly this time. The genius he cultivated is exceptional, another thought. If the rumors are true, the Lava World Master may become a named disciple of the Country Lord. In a less conspicuous corner, Rong Dianhao watched Li Qi on the screen and felt relief. He thought, "Fifth brother, your wish will be granted." Because the great Qianwu Country Lord was present, the other undying spiritual gods held themselves in check. When the Country Lord's deep voice finally issued an order, every one of them listened attentively. Rong Dianhao. The voice carried weight. Rong Dianhao rose and replied respectfully, "Country Lord, you will be sent as envoy to meet the Lava Empire Emperor and Li Qi Royce," the Country Lord commanded. "Yes, Country Lord." Rong Dianhao's expression changed. A faint light flickered in his eyes. The other undying spiritual gods exchanged looks and silently confirmed the rumor they'd heard. The Qianwu Country Lord's envoy had indeed been dispatched. Meanwhile, on Molten Rock Island in a splendid palace, the Lava World Master sat beside the Lord of the Azure Wood World. Li Qi was dazzling today, the Lord of the Azure Wood World said. The Qianwu envoy will be on their way. The Lava World Master nodded. Almost certainly. Last time I cultivated a genius with a chance to break the universe top 1000, the Qianwu envoy also appeared after the free-for-all. That one didn't make the top 1000 in the end. This is different, the Lord of the Azure Wood World said with a shake of his head. With Li Qi's comprehension of his law, entering the top 1000 should be easy. He may even contend for the top 10. Indeed. The Lava World Master smiled, then noticed something. It looks like the envoy has arrived. I'll excuse myself, the Lord of the Azure Wood World said, and departed. Soon after, Rong Dianhao entered the palace. The Lava World Master rose to greet him. "Second brother," he said. "Fifth brother." Rong Dianhao embraced him before sitting. "I come by the Country Lord's command to meet you and Li Qi Royce." Could it be? The Lava World Master could hardly finish. Hope brightened his face. Rong Dianhao answered the unspoken wish. The Country Lord keeps his promises. If Li Qi Royce officially breaks into the top 1000, the Country Lord will accept you as a named disciple. The Lava World Master laughed aloud. The despair that had weighed on him for millions of years seemed to evaporate. "Thank you, second brother," he said, gratitude shining through. Rong Dianhao, however, remained measured. Nothing is set yet. Li Qi still has to break into the top 1000 in the Cosmic Peak Genius Battle. By the way, where is Li Qi? The Country Lord has a reward for him, something to help him advance further. I'll send him a message now. The Lava World Master tapped out the summon. After the free-for-all ended, Li Qi had been stunned and elated to get a message from his father telling him that family members had come to watch. He was about to reply when another message arrived from the Lava World Master, saying the Qianwu Country Lord's envoy wanted to see him. Li Qi accepted and teleported to the Lava World Master's palace. The moment he stepped inside, an immense pressure hit him, far more oppressive than the aura he'd felt from the fifth-order mind-energy weapon fragment. He ground his teeth and held steady. Seeing Rong Dianhao seated with the Lava World Master, Li Qi bowed. "Greetings, great undying spiritual god. Your will is commendable." Rong Dianhao observed him, then added with blunt assessment, "But it's not top tier among your peers yet." Li Qi lowered his head and listened. Rong Dianhao introduced himself formally. "I am Rong Dianhao, one of the undying spiritual gods serving the Qianwu Country Lord. I was sent by the Country Lord to meet you." Li Qi's heart leapt. A Marquise-rank undying had come personally? Did the Country Lord think so highly of him? "To help you advance in the Cosmic Peak Genius battle, the Country Lord is giving you a reward," Rong Dianhao said, then sent the details to Li Qi face to face. 2 secret techniques. After the stage one-on-one finals conclude, you will have 3 years to cultivate them. The first technique is the primary goal. If you successfully cultivate it, you will have a chance to contend for second place in this Cosmic Peak Genius battle. Li Qi blinked. Why only a chance at second? Wouldn't the Country Lord aim for first? "Go," Rong Dianhao said simply. "After the one-on-one finals, you may begin cultivating those techniques." "Yes." Li Qi bowed again, then left to prepare for the stage one-on-one finals, scheduled 2 days later. After a day of rest, the day of the one-on-one finals arrived. Amid the roar of countless spectators, Li Qi fought brilliantly, winning 4 consecutive matches. His victories secured a spot for the Qianwu Universe country in the Cosmic Peak Genius Battle Finals and spared them from entering the lengthy reincarnation battles to contend for the last 275 places. When the finals concluded, Li Qi opened the transmission from Rong Dianhao and began to prepare to cultivate the 2 secret techniques. Chapter 122, Secret Methods, Pain and Practice. After dispatching his opponents in 4 straight rounds and sweeping the one-on-one arena finals, the name Li Qi, the Mad Demon, spread like wildfire. The image of him butchering contestants in the free-for-all seared itself into countless memories. Some people even reenacted the scene in amateur films. Li Qi, however, paid no mind to the outside noise. Given 3 years' reprieve, he returned to his residence on Molten Rock Island and immediately opened his messages. 2 secret techniques awaited him. The first, a soul technique, was called Distortion Eye. The second, a space law secret, was the familiar myriad thread flow. The entry for Distortion Eye began. Cultivators will endure pain when constructing the Distortion Eye, and this pain has a strong will-tempering effect. When the Distortion Eye is successfully formed, that is, when the first layer is cultivated, the soul form will transform into a Distortion Eye. Below the text, in Universal Common Script, an eye was sketched out in 1,000 jagged lines. From a distance, it looked like a stylized eye, but up close, the illusion broke. The eye itself was made up of hundreds, maybe thousands of distorted eyes superimposed on one another. The image was oddly unsettling. After only a moment's gaze, Li Qi felt his head swim as if he'd been struck by a mind power attack. He shut his eyes, let the dizziness pass, and frowned. "Just looking at that made me feel like I'd been hit by mind power," he murmured. He scrolled up to study the cultivation method for Distortion Eye more closely. To his surprise, the technique contained only the first layer. It struck him as odd. From what he'd read, this secret technique should have multiple layers. Qianwu Country Lord had seemed stingy, but he was still a universe exalt. He wouldn't hand out a half-finished soul secret for no reason. He checked Myriad Thread Flow next. That one was complete. A thought clicked into place. Distortion Eye must be a high-rank soul technique, its first layer already comparable to the entire Myriad Thread Flow. Rong Dianhao, the envoy of Qianwu Country Lord, had told him to focus primarily on the soul secret technique, Distortion Eye. Li Qi recalled their conversation in the palace of the Lava World Master. Rong Dianhao had praised his will, but hinted it wasn't top tier among peers. It made sense now. Qianwu country lord must have judged that Li Qi's weakness lay in his will and soul defense, and so had given him distortion to temper and strengthen those qualities. Illusionists were the second most common faction among psyker masters after controllers, so top-tier illusionists were likely to appear in the Cosmic Peak Genius battle. Li Qi realized that his will and soul defense really were weak points. In the primordial universe, he had once faced a mind power attack from a universe-rank psyker master and had held his ground mostly thanks to raw mind power. In the virtual universe, simulated illusionists of his rank had barely affected him, but only barely. If he met a genuine top-tier illusionist in the finals, his current will and soul defense might not hold. The reward from Qianwu country lord therefore eased his mind. He could spend the 3 years cultivating distortion eye. He reopened the light screen to begin. He had no intention of working on myriad thread flow. His talent for space origin law was only average. It was unlikely he could elevate that movement-type space technique to even an introductory level in 3 years. Years ago, he had struggled with space secret techniques and could only sense space law fluctuations, not truly comprehend them. It would be a waste of time to chase myriad thread flow now. Better to focus on distortion eye. Li Qi decided to start in the virtual universe, finish the groundwork there, then return to the primordial universe for deeper cultivation. He followed the instructions on the light screen and commenced construction of the distortion eye. Almost immediately, he opened his eyes wide and convulsed in a grimace. His body shook, sweat beaded on his forehead. The pain was immense, not physical, but searing anguish applied directly to his soul, as if it were being torn apart. It was the kind of torment that made him want to scream until he passed out. This was with the virtual universe set to only 75% sensory simulation. At 100%, he suspected he would have blacked out. After a long, agonizing stretch, he finally recovered. He rested for a day, wandering through virtual games to take his mind off the pain, and then tried again. This time he proceeded slowly, cautiously building the distortion eye in small increments so the pain remained bearable. Progress was glacial at first. The pain forced him to go slowly. But as he raised his tolerance, his pace picked up. 2.5 years later, he succeeded. He had constructed the first layer of distortion eye. His soul form reshaped into an eye composed of countless lines, echoing the image on the light screen, but different in subtle ways born of his own soul imprint. In the remaining half-year, he gave myriad thread flow a try, but comprehension of space origin law still eluded him. Instead, his work paid off elsewhere. His wood origin law progressed noticeably, perhaps because the improvement in his soul will allowed him more control. In the virtual universe, he could now perform the second form of green vine pillar, endless vine, with skill. At that point, the Cosmic Peak Genius Battle Finals began. Chapter 123, Prelude to the Finals. On the Qianwu continent of the virtual universe, on Molten Rock Island in the Lava Secret Realm, Li Qi gathered with his family in the manor to say goodbye. He was about to take part in the finals of the Cosmic Peak Genius Battle. Li Qi's rise had brought great benefits to the Royce family. On Kuka Star, aside from the universe-rank governor, the Royce family now held the most influence. They had also been granted access to the wider virtual universe rather than being confined to the local regional network, which allowed Li Qi to reunite with his family inside the virtual universe. 11, the energetic 19 called out. Come back first place. Idiot. First place isn't that easy. 18 smacked 19 on the head. Her eyes glittered. 11 only needs to break into the top 1,000 in the universe. The top 1,000 all get big cash rewards. Li Qi shook his head in helpless amusement at 18's money-grubbing instincts. She was right about one thing. First place wasn't easy. Even Rong Dian Hao, the envoy from the Qianwu country lord, had only said Li Qi had a chance at second place when granting his rewards. First place wasn't mentioned. It was obvious the country lord didn't favor him for the top spot. 11. 18 suddenly took Li Qi's hand and pouted. If you make the universe top 1,000, can you share some money? I saw a virtual pet. It's super cute. All right. Li Qi smiled and pretended to consider. When I make the universe top 1,000, I'll give you 1 million Qianwu currency. Yay! 18 was ecstatic. By the exchange rate between Qianwu currency and lava coin, 1 million Qianwu equaled 1 billion lava coin, an enormous sum for her to spend. For Li Qi, after making the Qianwu universe's top 1,000 in the Cosmic Peak Genius Battle, 1 million Qianwu was nothing. He had already received a Hunyuan unit from the Lava World Master as a reward for getting into the Qianwu universe's top 1,000. One Hunyuan unit, he knew, equaled 1 trillion cosmic currency. One cosmic currency equaled 3,300 Qianwu currency, so 1 million Qianwu amounted to only a little over 3,000 cosmic currency. After the farewells, Li Qi left Molten Rock Island. Across continents and islands in the virtual universe, millions of peerless geniuses from the 108 universe countries teleported to their respective gathering points. A floating island hovered above the Qianwu continent. With a swish, Li Qi arrived at the teleport point. "Mr. Li Qi, this way, please." A universe-rank warrior in work uniform stood beside the teleport point and politely pointed out a path. "Thank you." Li Qi nodded and walked along the path. A short while later, he came upon a square ringed with flowers and decorative plants. Hundreds of people, men and women of all sorts of appearances, were gathered there. Earthling appearances made up at least a third. Earthling looks were the mainstream across the universe. "Mad Demon is here," several young people called out. These hundreds had all secured spots. The Qianwu universe country was sending 1,000 geniuses this time. Many of them recognized Li Qi. Because of his strength and his reputation as the Qianwu universe's #1 genius in this peak genius battle, they were eager to befriend him. "Madax! Lanka!" Li Qi greeted a few of his friends. Lanka, from the Lava Secret Realm, had also made the Qianwu universe's top 1,000. As the 1,000 conversed, an invisible pressure washed over the square. Faces went pale, bodies trembled instinctively. Footsteps sounded, and a man in a gray and white battle suit walked over. His aura was deep and terrifying. A faint tang of blood in that aura made everyone feel irrationally afraid. "By the Country Lord's order, I will lead the team in this Cosmic Peak Genius battle." The man's voice was mild, yet it still pressed down on Li Qi and the others. "My name is Koji. You may call me Lord Koji, or Military Lord Koji." "Lord Koji," the 1,000 responded together, involuntarily. Such terrifying pressure. Cold sweat rose on Li Qi's brow. Compared to the unconscious pressure Rong Dianhao had emitted 3 years ago, Lord Koji's actively released pressure was far more fearsome. If this were the primordial universe, that pressure alone could kill most present. In front of Lord Koji, the 1,000 geniuses felt as weak as ants. Fear, pure, instinctive fear, sprang up in their chests. "Li Qi!" Military Lord Koji swept his gaze across the crowd and finally stopped on Li Qi. "Lord Koji." Li Qi bowed respectfully. "You are the only genius from our Qianwu universe country in this peak genius battle with the potential to break into the universe top 1,000 and possibly the top 10, Military Lord Koji said quietly. "The country lord places great expectations on you. Do not disappoint him." "Yes," Li Qi replied with respect. As for the others, Koji glanced over the assembled geniuses and shook his head slightly. "There isn't much hope." Many among the group clenched their fists. A surge of pent-up chi flared in them. "I know you don't all accept that," Koji went on evenly. "From the intelligence I've gathered, the overall level of this Cosmic Peak Genius battle is quite high. Not only does our Qianwu universe country have many law geniuses, but more than 10 other universe countries each have over 900 law geniuses. So apart from Li Qi, it will be difficult for any of you to break into the top 5,000. Of course, miracles have happened. Historically, some peerless geniuses began ordinary and then erupted during the final showdown." Koji scanned the crowd and then switched topics. "All right, follow me." The peerless geniuses from the Qianwu universe country understood. Lord Koji did not consider most of them to be potential top contenders. Li Qi and the 1,000 geniuses, led by Military Lord Koji, teleported to a vast new plane in the virtual universe. A great continent stretched out before them. The team, 1,001 people, including Koji, appeared together. Qianwu Universe Country Team, there are 1,004 large buildings ahead. Your team has been assigned to building 435. A middle-aged man in a white robe bowed to Military Lord Koji as he announced the assignment. "Tsk," Koji clicked his tongue at the numerical rank, displeased, but he led the team toward their building. From a distance, the buildings formed a ring. In the center, surrounded by the 1,004 structures, lay a handsome square filled with birdsong and flowers. Dozens of young men and women from different universe countries strolled and chatted there. At least 100,000 people could be seen at a glance. Descend, Military Lord Koji's voice thundered. The Qianwu team landed on the square's edge and walked along the path toward Building 0435. The square had dedicated passages leading to each building. Look, Building 0435 belongs to the Qianwu Universe country. That must be their genius team. It's Li Qi. Him? He's very strong. They say he might break into the top 10. Top 10? Geniuses from other universe countries watched the Qianwu team from afar and began to gossip and speculate. The entire Qianwu Universe country team of geniuses listened as the geniuses from other universe countries talked in the distance. Most of them felt a quiet bitterness. Everyone who had managed to break into the top 1,000 for Qin was an outstanding prodigy, each one a favored child of heaven. Yet the visitors from other universes seemed to have eyes only for mad demon Li Qi. How could the rest be satisfied? Mad Axe, Bao Yan, who had faced Li Qi back in the world preliminaries, sent a transmission. Did you hear that? The geniuses from the other universes only talk about Mad Demon. That's natural, Mad Axe replied. You and I saw his strength up close. He's far beyond us. The fact that the other universes single him out just proves our loss wasn't undeserved. You do have a way with words, Bao Yan grinned. I like that. Lanka, walking nearby, sent a message as well. Li Qi, did you hear? The geniuses from the other universes are all talking about you. Li Qi answered, I heard them. Ha ha! Lanka laughed. They say you might break into the top 10 of this cosmic peak genius battle. If you really do make the top 10, I'll have a lot more face to show off with later. His tone was admiring, not envious. How could anyone resent such a supremely talented peer? You're exaggerating, Li Qi said with a helpless smile. By then, the Qianwu team had followed Military Lord Koji into Building 0435. The first floor opened into a vast hall, big enough for thousands. A powerful pressure swept through the space, pressing down on the 1,000 geniuses until they all turned to look at Military Lord Koji, who wore white battle attire. He let the pressure fall away and said in a cool voice, I have number plates from 1 to 1,000. Each of you take a plate and enter the room matching your number. Those will be your places to rest. He flicked his hand, and the plates drifted down, landing in front of the assembled geniuses. Li Qi picked his up, number 1. Lanka grabbed his, 626. Bao Yan's plate read 194. Mad Axe's, beside him, bore the number 4. Bao Yan's eyes went wide. He stared at Mad Axe in disbelief. Mad Axe's mouth twitched into a small smile but offered no explanation. When the 1,000 had their plates, Koji said, You're dismissed. Move about as you wish. Sleep in your rooms or go to the central square and interact with geniuses from other universes. He swept his gaze over them. When evening approaches, the Virtual Universe Corporation's organizers will summon you. No matter where you are in this dimensional space, you'll receive the notice. After that, he left. With the great undying spiritual god absent, the Qianwu geniuses visibly relaxed. They broke into small groups, clutching their number plates, chatting, or heading to their rooms. The central square itself was enormous. Ringed by 1,008 buildings, it could have held 1,000,000 people without feeling crowded. Flowers, ornamental plants, and small decorative creatures dotted the area. Restaurants were sprinkled about, 99 in total, and geniuses from any universe could enter any restaurant except restaurant number 1. A moment later, Military Lord Koji streaked like a shaft of light and landed before restaurant number 1. The attendant bowed deeply. Koji stepped inside. The restaurant's first floor had thousands of seats, and already more than 100 undying spiritual gods were gathered there. Their presences varied, some sharp and cold as a prison, some fierce as stars, others thick with murderous intent. The air itself was heavy with power. Koji, some of the undyings greeted him as he nodded and smiled. One of them said, Koji, I heard your Qianwu has a genius named Li Qi. Word is his comprehension of law is near, or maybe already at, the first level of the Heavenly Bridge. I don't know exactly how far his law comprehension goes, Koji smiled, but he could easily contend for the top 10. Ha, the Undying replied, shaking his head. It's the finals. Why hold back? Koji only smiled. Your luck's been good, another Undying said. You haven't been team leader 100,000 years this cycle and already produced someone who can break into the top 10. Kaluo, don't flatter me, Koji shot back. I heard your Nine-Flame universe has a prodigy, an illusionist called Faye, supposedly the strongest illusionist in recent sessions. He could fight for the top 5. Maybe someday, Kaluo said with a helpless shrug. With that prodigy from Liu universe, who cultivates both space and time at astral rank, we might only fight for second. The other undying spiritual gods fell into a hush. Indeed, the Liu prodigy was terrifying, an astral-ranked cultivator who'd cultivated both the supreme laws of space and time to such a degree. One of the Undying sighed. Only that genius who came out of the Great Axe battleground tens of thousands of years ago might compare. The men talking were all trusted confidants, sent by their country lords, strong, undying existences. In a summit like this, even the envoys were among the strongest undying. Koji's strength could barely be called Marquis level, and he'd become team leader partly because the geniuses who failed to reach the top 1,000 would end up in the Qianwu secret realm as his subordinates. Back in Building 435, residence number 1 was enormous. A single bed measured 10 meters long by 6 meters wide. The whole suite covered nearly 1,000 square meters. It was overkill for Li Qi, whose frame didn't need so much space, but the rooms had to accommodate larger geniuses. Li Qi sat on the edge of the bed and thought, even the Qianwu country lord believes I could contend for second, though he doesn't think I can take first. If I can possibly make second, then under normal circumstances I should be able to reach first, unless first place is already reserved by some super genius. Perhaps Kuji thinks no one in this peak genius battle can defeat that super genius. I'll go out to the central square and ask the geniuses from other universes. With that, Li Qi rose and left his room, heading for the square. That's not right. Just as he was about to leave, Li Qi stopped. He frowned. If I remember correctly, someone mentioned the 1004 universe country earlier. At present, the human race only has the 1004 universe country. What period is this? A headache prickled at him. I noticed the Black Dragon Mountain Empire was missing from the Qianwu universe country's vassals, and now there are 4 fewer universe countries altogether. Something's off. He pondered, but couldn't pin it down. The original timeline was too vague. Without the people and events he remembered, it was hard to tell exactly when he'd slipped into. Forget it. He pushed the thought aside. Worrying won't help. Once I reach the Virtual Universe Corporation's core layer and become an undying level powerhouse, I'll have all the time I need. He exited his residence and, with several other geniuses from the Qianwu universe country, headed for the central square. The square was larger than a city on Earth, but these peerless geniuses were all star-level 9th order, capable of seeing 100 kilometers with a glance. When the Qianwu group entered, conversations rippled through the crowd. Look, it's the Mad Demon Li Qi from Qianwu. Mad Demon Li Qi. He might break into the top 10 of this cosmic peak genius battle. I saw his file. He's cultivated less than 100 years, never used a higher law, but his grasp of the wood origin law is extremely deep. He's powerful. Those remarks made the other Qianwu geniuses uncomfortable. One or two at a time, they edged away from Li Qi to avoid being spoken about alongside him. Lanka, though, a core member of the Lava Secret Realm, didn't care and stuck by Li Qi's side. They're drifting away from you, Lanka transmitted. Walking with you is intimidating. Other universe country geniuses don't want to be overshadowed. Which genius who can enter the Cosmic Peak Finals isn't from a universe country? Li Qi sent back. Of course it stings to be ignored. It's a mentality problem, Lanka shrugged in the link. Take me, I know my limits. Making the finals is already more than those laws geniuses who were eliminated. I never imagined I'd make the top 1,000. Li Qi smiled. Your attitude's good. My goal's to enter the Qianwu secret realm and then join other undying level factions. Lanka's eyes brightened. Look, there's Faye from the Nine-Flame universe country. Li Qi followed the direction and saw her. a killer beauty in a white fur coat, skin like porcelain, and a pair of snow-white furry ears crowning her head. Fae of the White Fox clan, Lanka transmitted, a branch of the fox race, an illusionist genius from Nine Flame, rumored to be a top 10 contender. More than that, Lanka added, no one's actually seen Fae fight. A single gaze from her, or even being looked at, can trap an enemy in an illusion and kill them. Other geniuses were also drawn to her. Nearby, someone was pointing out another figure. That's Windflame Nuno of the Yan God clan. I've heard Windflame Nuno is also a top 10 candidate. Lychee turned. Nuno towered 8 meters tall in black battle armor, a curved horn on his brow. Scales covered his skin. His hands and feet resembled those of ordinary humans, but larger, with scaly plating on the backs of his hands. A fierce, violent aura rolled off him. As Lychee took in Nuno, a different conversation snagged his attention. "It's a pity I can't see that super genius from Liu Universe Country," a voice said. "He's universally considered number 1 in this battle. With him here, everyone else can only fight for second." "Which super genius is that?" Lychee asked Lanka. He rarely paid attention to the battle's heavyweight names because of his cultivation, but the claim of an undisputed number 1 intrigued him. "You mean Illusion God KD?" Lanka transmitted. "He's the undisputed top. They say his comprehension of the higher laws, space and time, is profound." KD, Lychee froze. The name hit him like a jolt. KD, Luo Feng's senior brother in the original story, a legendary prodigy spoken of in hushed tones, the one who swept through universe rank, territory lord rank, and world lord rank to reach Mount Tongtian. The prodigy whom even the primordial Chaos City Lord regretted not protecting with a treasure, a regret tied to KD's tragic demise. Lychee never expected to be living in the same era as KD, the human race's benchmark in the original tale, and to possibly compete in the same cosmic peak genius battle. "What's wrong?" Lanka asked, sensing his silence. "Nothing." Lychee shook himself and forced a smile. "Just thinking, with a genius like that around, I can at best fight for second place." Lanka clicked his tongue. "You're bragging. Being able to contend for second is already excellent." He hesitated, then asked, "Do you really think you can get second?" "I have confidence," Lychee replied, "but I'll only know once I compete." "Confidence is something," Lanka said enviously. "I have none." "Enough of this. Let's find somewhere to eat," Lychee suggested. "Maybe we can try delicacies from other universe countries." "Good idea," Lanka nodded. He wanted to taste otherworld dishes too. As they headed toward the nearest restaurant, Lychee's thoughts drifted back to the timeline. If KD, the super genius of the original tale, already existed in this era, then Zhen Yan King, Luo Feng's second teacher, had not yet been born. Beyond that, the rest of the timeline remained frustratingly uncertain. One thing he could be sure of, however, was that the Yan God clan's defection, a major event in the human race's future, had not yet happened. Chapter 126, The Venerable and Cruel Rules. Evening was falling. The leaders of each genius team from the 1004 universe countries, great undying spiritual gods all, arrived at restaurant number 1. Some gathered on the first floor, others on the second, chatting in low voices. With KD's grasp of the space and time laws, in a few 100 million epochs, he might become a space or time venerable, one murmured. "Becoming a venerable is easier said than done," another replied. "Even with vast talent, it's not guaranteed. The deeper your comprehension of a law, the harder it becomes to reach undying," a third added. "Our human race's 5 great giants have trained geniuses for centuries. Many have world-class law comprehension and became champions at the World Lord stage, but the number who actually ascend to undying is small." "Right," someone else sighed. "The deeper a law penetrates, the more solid the foundation and the stronger the core. If you can't break the core's shackles, you'll be trapped at the World Lord level and become a shattered world in 1,000 epochs." These undying spiritual gods were trusted confidants of their universe country lords. They knew such truths. As they spoke, a loud voice cut through the conversation. "Judging from KD's talent so far, he's a genius who appears once every few 100 million epochs. If he doesn't fall, there's a real chance he could become a universe exalt." The voice rolled across both floors of restaurant number 1. Hundreds of undying on the first floor turned, and through the main entrance a man stepped in. Gray-black hair, wearing fiery red battle robes, a faint stubble along his jaw. He moved as if through another layer of space and time. At once, hundreds of Undying, many king-level, stood and bowed. "Venerable," they said in unison. The man in the red robes smiled. "Our virtual universe corporation is hosting this genius battle, and your universe countries have offered strong support. On behalf of the corporation, I thank you." "It's what we should do," came voices from both floors. "Carry on with your conversation," the Venerable said with a nod. "I'll go gather the youngsters." After he left, those on the first floor and others descending from the second began to whisper among themselves. So it was Venerable Gu Lun. I heard he only became a venerable less than 10,000 years ago. I didn't expect him to preside over the Cosmic Peak Genius Battle. Before ascending, he was sealed at the king title limit for ages, renowned among king-level Undying, a slayer of countless outsiders on the battlefield. They say he was stuck at that limit for countless years. Breaking through to become a space venerable must feel like a fulfilled wish. They sighed. To become a venerable was unimaginably difficult. A venerable could occupy an immense star domain, found a universe country, and with a wave of their hand shift stars and reshape space. Planets were like glass marbles before them. Elsewhere, in restaurant number 45, Li Qi and Lanka were finishing a meal when a voice invaded Li Qi's mind. "All participants from the 1,004 universe countries gather at the central square." He stood up without thinking. Others did the same. In moments, 1,004,000 geniuses, some flying down from the sky, some emerging from residential towers, others converging from the square's edges, rushed toward the center. A vast, precise formation of 1,004,000 young geniuses took shape on the central square. "What's going on? Why am I here? I was just in my room." Confused murmurs spread as many blinked awake and looked around. Li Qi scanned the crowd and realized the Cosmic Peak Genius Battle Finals had begun. Facing the formation were 1,004 undying spiritual gods, their presences radiating. The combined pressure of so many powerful Undying hushed the million-plus crowd into total silence. "Welcome, trainees, to the Peak Genius Battle hosted by our Virtual Universe Corporation," a calm voice announced. In the half-air above the square, the man in fiery red robes appeared, Gu Lun Venerable, smiling, yet seeming like an ancient god-king. Even at a distance, the geniuses felt a spatial dislocation, as if he were not in the same plane of existence. From the 1,004 universe countries, each has sent 1,000 representatives, over 1,000,000 geniuses in all, Gu Lun said, looking down. "Our Virtual Universe Corporation will select the strongest 1,000 from you and absorb them into our core. You will compete for those 1,000 positions. The rules are as follows. Tomorrow, each of you will enter a trial space individually. We have prepared over 1,000,000 trial spaces, one for each competitor. Each trial space contains 7 trial towers. Each tower has 7 levels. You begin with Trial Tower 1. Once you clear all 7 levels of the first tower, you may proceed to Tower 2, and so on, until you die and are expelled from the trial space. Your performance in the trial space will be scored. The top 100 scorers, places 1 through 100, will be absorbed directly into the core of our corporation as core members, without further screening. Those ranked 101 through 7,300, 7,200 competitors will enter arena battles to vie for 900 additional spots. All competitors ranked below 7,300 will be eliminated. His words stunned the mass of young geniuses. There were 1,004,000 contestants. A single trial space would eliminate nearly 1,000,000 people. The rules were pitiless. Chapter 127, Trial Tower Rules. Early the next morning, a clear, pleasant voice rang through the entire plane space. "Everyone, please prepare. Collective teleportation will commence shortly, sending all participants to their respective trial spaces. Good luck." In the first-floor hall of Building 435, geniuses from Qianwu Universe Country exchanged quick goodbyes. The trial tower pre-selection was brutal. Nearly 1,000,000 contestants would be eliminated in the first wave. All the geniuses in the 1,004 buildings had already woken, waiting for the initial call. Of the 1,000 or so competitors gathered in each building, hardly a handful were expected to remain. "Li Qi, good luck. Mad Demon, Qianwu is counting on you," One by one, people who knew Li Qi sent him voice messages, cheering him on. Many of them had little hope of reaching the Trial Tower's top 7,300 ranking, so they pinned their hopes on Li Qi Royce, a super genius born in Qianwu, to bring honor to their country. Boom. A strange, invisible force swept through the plane space and instantly teleported all 4,000 young geniuses to their trial spaces. The Undyings, the restaurant staff, and others in the area were unaffected. Out in the starry void, a huge, nearly rectangular meteorite, almost 100 kilometers long, floated in silence. Nearby drifted a tiny astral outpost and a few dead, lifeless planets. On the meteorite were 7 trial towers, each like a mountain, over 10 kilometers tall and several kilometers across, spread at different points across its surface. Li Qi appeared on the rock and glanced down at the screen on his wrist, just like during the world preselection. It read, Participant, Li Qi Royce, G-Universe Country. Ranking, none. Trial Space, 43501. He scrolled through the trial tower rules. The first tower offered up to 10,000 points per level, 7 levels, 70,000 points total. The second tower went up to 100,000 per level, 700,000 total. The scale kept increasing. By the fourth tower, each level was worth 10 million, 70 million for completing all 7. By the seventh tower, each level was worth 100 billion, 700 billion for all 7 completed. A note followed. Once you die, the trial ends. There were 2 ways to clear each level. 1. Kill all targets on the level to receive the maximum points for that level and be teleported directly to the next level. 2. If you do not kill all targets, survive for 10 days. If still alive after the countdown, you are teleported to the next level to continue the trial. When all participants are dead, the trial ends and the final ranking is determined, Li Qi read. He muttered, all dead, and the trial ends. It was a grim calculation. Virtual Universe Corporation clearly expected nobody to clear the towers. Li Qi's mind drifted to Bolin from the original tale. Bolin only reached the first level of the 7th tower, he remembered. And when Bolin first entered Primordial Chaos City, how many levels of Heavenly Bridge did he pass? 2, he thought. The trial towers would be brutal. To clear them all, he suspected one's comprehension of law would have to be at least Heavenly Bridge level 7. The 7th level of each tower included a Zerg Queen Mother, capable of spawning overwhelming numbers of insect warriors. If you couldn't kill the queen quickly, the swarm would bury you. He didn't plan to linger. Without a clone cultivating elsewhere to take over for him, he couldn't risk wasting time leveling or practicing movement arts on a single floor. 10 days was far too long to stay in one place. Li Qi transformed into a streak of light and flew to the first tower. The gatepost, taller than most mountains, bore a plain 1. He readied his mind energy weapons, battle armor, and everything else, then stepped into the tower. The screen on his wrist updated. First tower, level 1, 10,000 vicious beasts, bloodhair mammoth. Kill 1 to earn 1 point. Kill all to receive 10,000 points and be teleported to level 2. If not all are killed, survive for 10 days to be teleported to level 2. Death ends the trial. A countdown ticked at the edge of the display, 10 days to avoid being forced to the next level. 10 days is too long, he thought, and prepared to press his advantage. 10,000 bloodhair mammoths materialized and charged as one toward the center of the chamber. The first-level beasts were weak, common star-level 9th order vicious beasts. Li Qi didn't hold back. He leapt onto his mind energy platform and drew his green vine pillar, then unleashed his azure wood thorns. 9 razor-like azure wood thorns flew from the green vine pillar, streaks of blue light that whirled around him like orbiting knives. Flesh tore and hide split with wet, disgusting sounds as the thorns cut through the thick pelt and armor of the mammoths. The 9 blades were merciless, and before long, the 10,000 beasts were reduced to gore. Clearing level 1 earned him the full 10,000 points and instant teleportation to level 2. Level 2 spawned 10,000 Yao beasts, the 9-headed serpents. They were about as strong as the mammoths, but smarter. Intelligence didn't help them when met with absolute speed and precision. Li Qi unleashed the same tactic, 9 azure wood thorns, and the serpents fell in even shorter order. Level 3 held 1,000 mechanical Daluo race warriors. Level 4, 1,000 starry giant beasts called Flying How. Level 5, 100 automaton puppets from the automaton race. Level 6, 10 colossal starry giant beasts named Kang. And level 7 housed a single insect race Zerg mother. Again and again, Li Qi unleashed the Azure Wood Thorns, pressing his advantage as a Psyker Master. He moved fast, slaughtered efficiently, and bypassed prolonged engagements. The first tower yielded its 7 levels, and with each complete level, he received full points. By the time he emerged from the 7th level, he had accrued the full 70,000 points from Tower 1. On the live scoreboard, his swift slaughter pushed him temporarily high up. But Tower 1 had been only a warm-up. The creatures he'd faced were at most ordinary star-level 9th Order threats. The subsequent towers followed the same structure and counts as the first, but their enemies' power escalated steeply with each tower. Li Qi stepped away from the first tower's gate and looked at the other 6 monoliths dotting the meteorite horizon. The trial had only just begun. Chapter 128, The Influence of the Points Ranking. In the virtual universe's central square, 1,004 undying spiritual gods lounged in various places, casually observing the light screens that hovered in the air. The trial space eliminations were not broadcast to the public across the entire universe. Only changes in the rankings were made public, and only the final arena battles would be shown live. Still, the undying spiritual gods representing each universe country had the authority to monitor the trial progress of every participant. "Oh, that kid Li Qi has already climbed to the top of the points leaderboard," someone murmured. "Koji, that youngster from your Chanwu universe country is formidable. He only leads because he's a Psyker Master. KD from Liu universe country isn't bad either. He's second now, and his score is really close to first." Military Lord Koji watched the light screen with a pleased smile. Li Qi's current performance lifted his spirits. Li Qi had temporarily overtaken KD, a prodigy widely regarded as the favorite in this peak genius battle. The 1,004 Undying watched the rankings and the trial developments closely. Each of them represented a universe country, and naturally wanted their country's genius to shine. For beings of near-eternal existence, honor and prestige meant a great deal. News of the genius battle stirred tremendous waves throughout every universe country, drawing countless spectators. The peak genius battle among the geniuses of 1,004 universe countries inspired anxious anticipation everywhere. The trial eliminations themselves remained private, with only rankings broadcast publicly. On Chanwu continent, in the virtual universe, 2 young men walked side by side down a street. A promotional video on a skyscraper's ad screen caught their attention. Ranked first on the points leaderboard, "Li Qi's unstoppable," one of them exclaimed, eyes shining. "He's truly outstanding," his companion agreed. "Our Qianwu universe country's #1 genius for sure." He shook his head with a wistful smile. "Too bad only the contestants who break into the top 1,000 get promotional videos from the Virtual Universe Corporation. The rest don't get the chance." "What can you do?" the other said with a shrug. "The rankings keep changing, but only those in the top 1,000 get promotional coverage. If more geniuses from our Qianwu could crack the top 1,000, even briefly, that'd be something." Across the Qianwu universe country, which spanned hundreds of millions of star domains, people excitedly discussed the genius battle rankings. The lava starfield celebrated especially loudly. Their star domain had been officially established for only a few million years. Now, in a spectacle as grand as the peak genius battle involving all of humanity, a genius from their domain had reached the top of the points leaderboard. They felt immense pride. "Li Qi is first, the top human genius in the entire universe." Other star domains reacted less enthusiastically. Even if some of their geniuses had made Chanwu's top 1,000, their performances on a stage as vast as the peak genius battle felt mediocre next to Li Qi's success. Watching the lava starfield celebrations, many felt stung. On Molten Rock Island in Qianwu continent, a magnificent palace echoed with laughter. The Lava World Master and the Lord of the Azure Wood World sat opposite one another at a table strewn with bottles of fine wine. "Ha-ha!" The Lava World Master, Gulate, drained a cup, beaming. "Li Qi is ranked first on the points leaderboard. I can't stop smiling. Gulete, the lord of the azure wood world, raised his glass in congratulations. Congratulations, your wish finally came true this time. To your health. Gulete poured another glass, laughing. You're half responsible for Li Qi's success. He owes some of this to your guidance. The lord of the azure wood world waved a hand modestly. His talent and comprehension are astonishing. I didn't teach him much. This is mostly his own doing. You say that, but you did guide him, Gulete teased. In the future, when people talk about you, they'll probably say Li Qi's guiding master after your name. The lord of the azure wood world could only smile and shake his head. Gulete, you flatter me. Gule's expression turned earnest. If Li Qi becomes a top-tier master, people might even call you the #1 cultivation great master of Qianwu Universe Country. The lord of the azure wood world laughed aloud. #1 in Qianwu, huh? You really know how to dream. Back on the central square, the 1004 undying spiritual gods continued to watch the floating screens and exchange observations. Quite a few geniuses held back during their internal selections, one remarked. A pleasant surprise. Indeed, another agreed. Because the top 100 in this trial ranking will automatically secure spots, many genuine strong practitioners who'd hidden their strength have erupted with full power. It's surprising to see them push so hard. This one from the Wild God clan hid himself deeply, someone else noted. I thought he specialized in fire origin law, but his true mastery seems to be earth origin law. That Fox clan prodigy is struggling, another observed. As an illusionist, facing automaton race puppets is difficult. The trial space isn't about one-on-one duels, an Undying pointed out. Inside there are metal life forms, automaton race puppets, and insect race broodmothers. Many of those opponents are either immune to soul attacks or have strong resistance to them, so geniuses who rely on soul techniques are at a real disadvantage. Marquise Miyu is right, another Undying agreed. Still, true genius great masters will do well. I think the trial space setup is excellent. It prepares them for the kind of enemies they'll face later, namely, powerful practitioners from other races in the universe. Military Lord Kuji nodded. He glanced at the light screen showing Chenwu's top 1,000 geniuses and frowned slightly. He studied the rankings, surprised. Li Qi's been pushed out of first place. KD is a real prodigy. As a martial artist, he kills faster than a psyker controller in many situations. Koji accepted the change. Before the finals of this peak genius battle, the Qianwu country lord had aimed to contend for second place. He had never expected to wrest first away from a prodigy like KD. To all my fellow readers, happy Dragon Boat Festival. Chapter 129, Endless Vine shows its power. The virtual universe's central square was ringed by 1,004 towering buildings. Hundreds of thousands of eliminated geniuses already stood there, having been teleported back from the trial towers. In successive bursts of light, more than a dozen newly eliminated contestants arrived. Baoyan, fresh from his own defeat, spotted Lanka near Li Qi and hurried over. Lanka, so you were eliminated too? I went out long ago, Lanka replied with a helpless shrug. The third trial tower was brutal. I only barely cleared the first floor, and then on the second, I got swarmed and drowned by a horde of 9-headed serpents. You passed the first floor of the third trial tower? Then you shouldn't have been eliminated that early, Baoyan said skeptically. I was tearing through enemies and still went down on the 5th floor of the third trial tower. I never expected to crack the top 7,300 on the scoreboard, so I killed as fast as I could, Lanka explained. I saw a lot of people like me getting knocked out at the third trial tower. There were 7 trial towers total. All 1,004,000 geniuses had passed the first and second towers. But starting with the first floor of the third trial tower, the eliminations exploded. Almost 90% of contestants were culled by that tower alone. You're right, Baoyan said. The third tower was nasty. I got punched into the ground by an automaton race puppet on the 5th floor, then stomped to death. Lanka laughed. I'm worse off. I was just swallowed whole by that serpent swarm. A few days later, more eliminated figures were summoned to the central square. Baoyan saw a familiar face and waved. Mad Axe, which trial tower did you reach? First floor of the 4th, Mad Axe said with a shake of his head. The fourth trial tower is brutal. Its first floor is harder than the seventh of the third. If you reach the fourth tower, your rank should be close to the top 100,000, Baoyan said. It's nowhere near that, Maddox replied. If I don't break into the top 7,300, I can't get onto the arena stage. He glanced up. Which trial tower is Li Qi on? Lanka pointed to a light screen hovering in the sky. The fifth. Trial space. On a meteorite in a distant star domain, 7 trial towers rose into the air. Li Qi stood on the 7th floor of the 5th trial tower. Around him stretched an endless desert. On the green patch beyond the sand sat a scarred spherical object about 120 meters in diameter. The shell was pitted and seeping venomous fluids, a faint toxic haze drifting off it. At that size, it was the equivalent of a nearly 40-story shell, an enormous outer casing for something inside. From the pits all over the shell's surface, blue, sticky armored insects began pouring out. They were triangular-headed, with 2 antennae, large compound eyes, thin bodies supported by 2 hind legs, 4 chopping forelegs like blades, and 2 translucent wings on their backs. From each 1-meter pit, hundreds poured forth. In seconds, 3 waves had produced roughly 3,000 of them. These were the mantis, the common cannon fodder of the combat-type insect race. In a real battlefield, the Zerg Queen Mother would birth many specialized types: scouts, assassins, long-range attackers, and siege variants, but the trial tower had adjusted her output. Still, an intelligent opponent, she had already released all her bred warriors. Li Qi had switched to a 4th-tier flying mind energy vehicle and studied the flow of the incoming insects. Seeing 3,000 mantis already produced, he frowned. The Queen Mother had obviously prepared her spawn. Breaking through and killing the queen inside while being besieged would be difficult. He made up his mind. He would use the Green Vine Pillar's second form, Endless Vine. He poured mind power into the Green Vine Pillar and invoked the Wood Origin Law. From the top of the pillar, 2 vines sprang up, intertwining and spiraling as if growing continuously. The pillar behind him dissolved into those growing tendrils, which shimmered with green light and stretched out toward the oncoming mantis. The endless vine grew and extended without pause. Any mantis in its path was pierced by countless tiny offshoots. Bodies were torn apart and limbs scattered. The Queen Mother urgently ordered her mantis to intercept, deploying ranks of them to block the vines. Some managed to chew at the vine's surfaces, trying to halt the advance, and the survivors fed on the corpses of their fallen kin to recover, only to charge back and throw themselves against the vines again. Hundreds of mantis suddenly splintered from the main defense and surged straight for Li Qi. "Heh," Li Qi murmured. "Only now you decide to come for me? Sending a few hundred is hardly enough." He hadn't comprehended the supreme laws of space or time, nor the subordinate laws like wind, lightning, and light that optimized movement. But his movement techniques were cultivated with the Wood Origin Law, so he wasn't helpless. Standing on his 4th-tier flying vehicle, he darted and weaved with elegant, unpredictable trajectories. The charging mantis couldn't land an attack against him. Meanwhile, the endless vine reached the huge shell and burrowed into it with a wet tearing sound. The pitted outer casing writhed, then split open. From inside the shattered shell flew out a beautiful figure about 6 meters tall, the true Zerg Queen Mother revealed. She was crystalline white, her body gleaming like cut crystal, with delicate, butterfly-like transparent wings. A faint veil hid her face, and a stream of strange, enchanting music filled the air like a charm. Li Qi barely reacted. A sharp divine thought tried to slip into his mind, but his slowly rotating distortion eye ground it apart, and he siphoned a trickle of mind power back to replenish his reserves. The vines shot out of the broken shell, zeroing in on the airborne queen. Any mantis that tried to intercept were shredded by a storm of tendrils. The endless vine closed on the queen and drove thousands of tiny shoots into her head, then retracted. The Zerg Queen Mother collapsed. With the queen's death, the challenge ended. Li Qi had passed the 7th floor of the 5th trial tower. On the central square, the light screen showed Li Qi unleashing the second move of the Green Vine Pillar without reservation, Endless Vine. The nearly 1 million eliminated geniuses watching, as well as all the undying spiritual gods, were taken aback. No one had expected a competitor in the peak genius battle to have such a deep grasp of a lower law. The Green Vine Pillar is a top-tier 5th-rank mind energy weapon, one of the controller's 9 divine weapons. It's extremely difficult to wield, someone commented. Even so, to actually unleash Endless Vine, that's a move invincible at the universe rank, another said. They say he's already inside the 6th trial tower. I wonder how many levels he'll clear. The undying spiritual gods discussed among themselves with the same shock. That kid's comprehension of the wood origin law is incredibly deep, enough to use Endless Vine. To release Endless Vine, his law comprehension must have reached the 2nd level of the Heavenly Bridge. Exactly. Qingtang King once said that being able to use the Green Vine Pillar's 2nd move indicates 2nd-level Heavenly Bridge comprehension, but whether he can pass the tower still depends on the individual. Even if he fails now, with time and cultivation, he'll surely pass. Several undying spiritual gods sighed. Then one added, "It's a pity, though. This is only a lower law. If he could grasp a higher law like space or time, his prospects would be boundless." Still, with this level of wood law comprehension, he's already second only to KD in this whole competition. Based on what we've seen, this kid is a once-in-100 epochs genius. Yeah, but if he had a higher law, his rating would be even higher. Once he enters the core of Virtual Universe Corporation, his path on the Tao of law comprehension will only widen. His future evaluation could rise, maybe to an undying of champion rank. Champion-level undying? Maybe. At least a Marquise-level undying should be within reach. If he's a little short, time will fix that. They agreed. If Li Qi didn't fall, he would achieve great things, a Marquise-level undying at minimum. His law comprehension at the astral rank was already profound. Reaching World Lord rank, when law affinity peaks, would deepen it even more. Nearby, among the million eliminated geniuses, Bao Yan watched Li Qi on the screen kill the Zerg Queen Mother and couldn't help but exclaim, "Amazing!" As expected from Mad Demon. Mad Axe sighed. "I knew Mad Demon was strong. He might even contend for the top 10 in this battle, but I didn't expect him to have already broken into the 6th trial tower." Lanka laughed. Then he pointed at another screen. "Look, KD has broken into the 7th trial tower." What? The 7th trial tower? Many who had not been watching KD turned to the sky. Across the central square, over 1,000,000 top geniuses, plus 1,004 undying spiritual gods and other undying present, watched the live broadcast. Even undying who didn't lead teams had the authority to view it. KD's clearing the 6th tower, 7th level, and he looks calm. But the difficulty jumps sharply between towers. The 1st level of the 7th tower is several times harder than the 7th level of the 6th. I wonder if he can pass. Everyone watched tensely. Previously, passing 6 trial towers had earned just over 7.7 billion points. Now, the 1st level of the 7th tower alone would award 10 billion. High score meant high difficulty. KD's breaking into the 7th tower drew the attention of major figures from the Virtual Universe Corporation and the other 4 giant factions, enough to shake entire universes. The 7th tower's difficulty was theoretically impossible for those at the astral rank, and everyone wanted to see how many levels KD, with his astonishing law comprehension, could clear. "Too terrifying," muttered the young geniuses, stunned. The bloodhair mammoths in the 7th tower are that strong? 10,000 of them? Each one probably has the strength of a top 100 overall rank. The 1st level's 10,000 bloodhair mammoths were terrifying. Every attack carried origin law and enormous power. Then chaos on the screen drew breathless silence. Why are there KD's figures everywhere? They're after images. But how can he leave so many, tens of thousands? KD, who had seemed relaxed after clearing 6 towers, finally revealed his true might in the 7th. The light screen filled with dense figures of the blue-haired youth, one after another. Some images looked almost real, others more illusory. Whether real or phantasm, KD could strike from any of them, and every sword stroke hit a bloodhair mammoth's vital point, spraying blood. When he struck from an illusory figure, the sword light seemed to alter the flow of time. Even the massive bloodhair mammoths were affected. They were struck at their weak points with no chance to resist. The sword light was a distortion of time. When he struck from a real figure, it was as though space itself was being cut. The blade struck in an instant, with no visible trajectory. Each strike was precise, deadly, and impossible to respond to. With a thunderous roar, the bloodhair mammoth stamped forward, lashing out at every one of Katie's figures, illusionary and real alike. Slap! When the law-infused blows struck, the illusory forms burst like bubbles and the real ones shattered like glass. Still, no matter how fiercely they attacked, none could touch Katie's true body. They could only vent their fury by trampling the ground and striking at his myriad projections. Puff, puff, sounds of flesh being pierced rang out as the elusive KD slipped among them, driving his sword into the vital points of powerful bloodhair mammoths. One by one, they were grievously wounded or fell dead. Central Square buzzed with astonishment. What an incredible movement technique. Indeed, such terrifying bloodhair mammoths, and they can't even hurt KD. Nearly 1 million eliminated geniuses watched in amazement as KD stood unmoved beneath the onslaught of 10,000 rampaging mammoths. Time illusion and space afterimage, someone called out. He's using movement techniques from 2 superior laws at once. Amazing. His talent in both time and space is unbelievable. Maybe even the genius from Great Axe Battleground 500,000 years ago wouldn't match him. Not only the eliminated geniuses, but also the 1004 undying spiritual gods leading the teams watched in stunned silence as KD tore through the 7th Trial Tower's first level. In the light screen, tens of thousands of KD's figures, some real, some phantom, moved in relentless succession. Puff, puff, one massive bloodhair mammoth after another was struck in a vital spot and collapsed. The corpse count fell, 3,400, 2,173, 2,098. As the slaughter continued, the number of mammoths dwindled and KD's score climbed steadily. He passed. KD cleared the first level of the 7th Trial Tower. He's entered the 2nd level. Under 1 million eyes, KD killed the last mammoth and advanced. His points surged far past Li Qi in 2nd place. N01, KD, Liu Universe Kun, 777. Number 2, Li Qi, Universe Country, 10,254,770. The 2nd level was full of Yao beasts, 9-headed serpents. As the name implied, each had 9 heads. One central main head housed the serpent's soul in its sea of consciousness, so the other 8 heads were not fatal even if severed. The main head, however, was unmistakable, larger and centrally positioned. Compared to the first level's mammoths, the 10,000 9-headed serpents suited K-Dice style better. His figure flickered and multiplied, real and illusory forms expanding layer by layer until they numbered in the tens of thousands. They weaved among the serpents' necks, using the tangled mass of heads and necks for cover, slashing again and again at the central head. Each time the main head's eye or brain was pierced, the soul suffered, and another 9-headed serpent collapsed. Central Square erupted with praise. This KD is too strong. He lives up to being the undisputed number 1 in this cosmic peak genius battle. Millions of eliminated geniuses watched the effortless display, most of them having been knocked out in the 3rd and 4th Trial Towers. Very few managed to pass the 4th, those ranked in the top 7,300 and qualified for the arena stage. Monster. He really is a monster, said Faye, the fox-human woman who had been eliminated and ranked number 123. She watched KD's tens of thousands of forms on the screen and thought, no wonder my teacher said I had a shot at 2nd place. With a monster like that, there's no way to take 1st. Having seen KD reach the 7th Trial Tower, Faye no longer sought to challenge him. Passing the 7th Trial Tower showed not just skill, but tremendous willpower to withstand the Zerg Queen Mother's soul attacks. If he can clear the 7th, he's formidable, she admitted inwardly. But one day I won't be inferior. Nuno, a male of the Yan God clan, admired KD, but refused to concede he would be outclassed in the future. The Yan God clan's arrogance and pride flared clear in his thoughts. It seems KD has a hope of clearing the 2nd level, some of the 1004 immortal team leaders observed. Passing the 1st level gives him a solid chance of getting through the 2nd and maybe the 3rd. The 3rd is iffy, another replied. Metal Life have incredibly high physical defenses. Martial strikes don't cut them down easily. Katie's figures darted through the serpents without being harmed, and the team leaders felt he had a real chance to proceed. 231, 152, 104. Puff, puff. The piercing sounds continued as Katie's true body slipped among his projections, plunging his sword into one main head after another. When the last 9-headed serpent fell, he had cleared the second level and stepped into the third, where 1,000 Metal Life Tuolua warriors awaited. He's injured. The light screen showed KD still using his movement techniques to produce tens of thousands of images, making it extremely difficult for the Tuolua warriors to hit him. But Metal Life's physical defense far exceeded that of mammoths or serpents. Each Tuolua warrior required multiple strikes to fell, and the extra slashes exposed flaws. In the shuffle, KD was struck and took a wound. He pressed on and killed 324 Tuolua warriors, but ultimately the defense and endurance of the Metal Life overwhelmed him. He was eliminated. Central Square fell into a chorus of regret and awe. He still lost on the third level. What a pity. If it weren't for the Tuolua warriors' iron defenses, he might have made it further. Even so, this is impressive. He's likely the only competitor in this peak genius battle to reach the 7th trial tower. Those watching, the eliminated geniuses and the undying spiritual gods, felt the loss keenly. Killing 324 Metal Life still marked an extraordinary achievement. Virtual Universe, Thunder Island. Atop the central mountain range, within a palace where chaotic winds swirled and space-time compressed, a voice emerged from the depths of the turbulent airflow. Mixed use of space and time laws, good talent. Elsewhere in the virtual universe, inside another palace on another continent, an undying spiritual god who had watched Katie's ascent as usual entered a virtual game and posted a message requesting materials, attaching a specific list. In the same game, someone saw the materials post, played a while longer, went offline, and left the virtual universe. Not long after, another person logged in and posted in another virtual game. That message, after hundreds of thousands of relays, finally reached a white heavenly wolf of the monster race outside human territory. He was an undying spiritual god with a divine body over 10 kilometers long. After receiving the human race's intelligence report, he skimmed it and immediately rushed through the starfield to a palace that floated alone in the void. The palace was ringed by flames of many colors: black, white, purple, red, green, blue, each flame as large as an astral rank and swirling around the structure. From a distance, the palace looked normal, but up close, the space-time around it was distorted, carved into a separate pocket of reality. The white heavenly wolf prostrated himself on the plaza before the palace and said, "Leader, there is intelligence from the human territory concerning the peak genius battle." The palace's eye-shaped carvings blinked and the whole structure rumbled. "The human race's peak genius battle, another genius has appeared?" "Yes," the white heavenly wolf replied. "A genius named KD. He's only astral rank, but he has profound comprehension of 2 supreme laws, space and time, and he manifested time clones and space after images simultaneously." "Space and time together," the palace murmured, then its voice hardened. "Order it. Add human race's KD to the must-kill list. Number 1. The white heavenly wolf bowed. "Yes, leader." Similar messages ran through the networks of the other peak races. The insect race, the automaton race, each of the 6 peak races, received the same alert. Trial tower space. Li Qi, injured and with blood at the corner of his mouth, stared at the points on his wrist screen. He thought, KD has been eliminated. From the points distribution, he guessed KD must have already cleared as far as the 2nd level of the 7th trial tower. The ranking on the points board read, No 1 KD, Universe Country, points 30,237, 770,000. Qianwu Universe Country, points 4,697,770. Li Qi considered his score and frowned. Passing the 4th level of the 6th trial tower had already been hard. The 5th level would be even tougher. After the grueling fight he just endured on that level, he knew with his current level of movement technique it would be difficult to get through a stage that favored long-range attacks. Still, he told himself, even if I can't pass, I'll see how many mechanical puppets I can take down. His endless vine unfurled and shot toward the last winged, furry, 3-eyed lion-like vicious beast, Fei Hao, Central Square. Li Qi has entered the 5th level. Amazing. Other than KD, he's the strongest. The millions of eliminated geniuses watching on the light screens discussed him endlessly. Even KD, who had recently been eliminated, watched the display. That young man from Chanwu Universe Country has reached the 5th level of the 6th trial tower, he murmured. It would already be impressive if he could clear the 5th level. His movement technique is a weakness. True, his mobility isn't ideal, but getting to the 5th level is still better than many who entered previous genius battles. This peak genius battle is top tier. In average years, someone who reaches the 1st level of the 6th trial tower would likely take 1st place. The immortal team leaders, undying spiritual gods presiding over the observation, watched the same screens and exchanged comments. On the light screen, the 5th level of the 6th trial tower unfolded. A vast mechanical experimental base. The ground was entirely alloy. Standing on that metallic floor were 100 silver humanoid mechanical puppets, each about 8 meters tall. Mechanical puppets were combat constructs born of the automaton race. Every automaton was its own intelligence and control terminal. Assembled together, they could form a mechanical kingdom. The mechanical puppet was one of the kingdom's basic combat units. Buzz! 4 towering puppets powered up. Red light flared from their eyes as they locked onto the only human present, Li Qi. Boom! 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 The puppets sprang forward like storms of metal. Some sprinted along the alloy ground, others leapt into the air, all converging on Li Qi. Li Qi activated his 4th-tier mind energy weapon and shot into the distance without hesitation, dodging the rushing automaton constructs. Given his limited mobility, he knew the smartest approach wasn't a frontal slugfest. Guerrilla tactics, hit and run, were his best bet to whittle them down one by one. Invisible railguns spat from the puppets' arm launchers. Railguns varied wildly in specification. The fastest could approach light speed, but those were prohibitively costly. Even the automaton race reserved light-speed, long-range weapons for only their most important units. The railguns the puppets used were far slower than light, yet still deadly enough to force Li Qi into evasive maneuvers, which sapped his speed. A pursuing puppet's iron fist slammed down. Li Qi bent away at the last instant. The iron fist struck the alloy floor with enough force to gouge a deep crater. Iron fists, leg blades, railguns, flamethrowers, body rams. The puppets were walking mountains of metal. They were immune to mental energy attacks. To destroy them required material destruction, smashed plates, ruptured joints, shattered control chips. The battle escalated. Li Qi danced between strikes, using matter-based blows delivered by his endless vine and other devices to rip open chest plates and shatter the puppets' control cores. One by one, the silver giants crashed, their circuits fried and their motions stuttering into silence. Li Qi managed to destroy 42 of them, but the cost piled up in wounds and exhaustion. A heavy iron fist he couldn't avoid swept him off balance. Before he could recover, an invisible railgun bolt hammered into him, tearing through armor and flesh. He went down, chest caved in. A puppet charged and finished the attack by ramming its metal body into him. At that moment, on the 5th level of the 6th trial tower, after killing 42 mechanical puppets, Li Qi was eliminated. A white light carried him back to Central Square. He shook his head faintly. My movement technique is too weak, he admitted. Against many powerful opponents with diverse attack methods, defeat was inevitable. He felt no regret for having chosen to specialize in the wood origin law. His talent for the wood law far outshone his aptitude for space law. With decades or centuries of dedicated cultivation and the help of secret techniques, he could perhaps come to understand space law too, but he did not have, and was unwilling to spend, thousands of years. He wouldn't spend 5,000 more years to wait for the next cosmic peak genius battle. The immortal spiritual gods watching his return nodded in appreciation. He's under 100 years old and still made it to the 5th level of the 6th trial tower. That's impressive. Very good. Among the top 100 on the points board, the next youngest has cultivated for over 800 years. To reach this level with far less time invested than others is remarkable. One must remember, KD cultivated for over 3,000 years. They continued to observe the light screens, waiting for the last few dawdling geniuses to finish the trial tower pre-selection. Chapter 133, attention, and quota issues. On the eve of the Trial Tower preliminary round's conclusion for the Cosmic Peak Genius Battle, in a resplendent palace on Molten Rock Island in the Qianwu continent's virtual universe, the Lava World Master and the Lord of the Azure Woodworld sat opposite each other, drinking as they celebrated Li Qi's near-certain second place in the Trial Tower preliminaries. Suddenly a small light screen popped up before the Lava World Master. It was an urgent video call request from his sworn brother, Rong Dianhao. He guessed something pressing had happened and tapped accept. Rong Dianhao's face filled the screen at once. Fifth brother. Rong Dianhao did not waste words. Li Qi's special ability is the source of life, right? And he hasn't focused on cultivating the space law. The Lava World Master blinked. Second brother, have you forgotten I was the one who had you investigate Li Qi's special ability before? This isn't me asking you. Rong Dianhao's expression turned grave. It's the Qianwu Country Lord. Qianwu Country Lord. The Lava World Master's heart jumped. Why would he inquire about Li Qi's ability and cultivation status? Rong Dianhao gave a slight, meaningful look. Just answer. Realizing Rong Dianhao wasn't alone, the Lava World Master replied, Li Qi's special ability is indeed the source of life, and he hasn't focused on the space law. The Lord of the Azure Wood World can confirm that. The light screen shifted and took in the Lord of the Azure Wood World across from him, who nodded subconsciously, confirming the Lava World Master had not lied. I understand. Rong Dianhao nodded, shut off the screen, and turned to the towering, undying spiritual god beside him. King Rongye, was that recording preserved? These two world lords know Li Qi best. It was recorded. King Rongye inclined his head, then addressed the Qianwu Country Lord on the high throne with respectful solemnity. Thank you, Country Lord. The Qianwu Country Lord's voice boomed with majesty. Li Qi is a genius born in my Qianwu universe country. Helping to collect this information is a small support for him. Rong Dianhao bowed. I must return to the corporation to report. I will take my leave. After a final bow, he departed the palace. Once King Rongye had left, the Qianwu Country Lord said with a hint of surprise in his voice, Rong Dian, Li Qi Royce actually attracted the attention of Ancestor Tree Venerable. Back in his Skyborn Hall, Rong Dianhao bowed deeply. Country Lord, the Qianwu Country Lord continued, tell your sworn brother that he has completed the second trial mission. Once this peak genius battle concludes, I will accept him as a named disciple. Rong Dianhao's face lit up as if he himself had been accepted. Thank you, Country Lord, he said, overjoyed. The Qianwu Country Lord watched him with something like melancholy. Go. Yes. Rong Dianhao bowed and teleported away. In the virtual universe, on Thunder Island, a cavernous conference chamber held 9 of the virtual universe corporation's highest officials seated around a circular table hundreds of meters across. Each of the 9 emanated colossal presence, some shrouded in black flame space, others crackling with lightning, a few steeped in darkness or exuding rich life aura. It's time to decide, said the being wrapped in that rich life aura. The Trial Tower preliminary round is nearly over. I don't think that child deserves a primitive mystical region slot. The black flame being scoffed. If he had comprehended the space law, I wouldn't object, but he hasn't. If he really has talent, he can try in the later Secret Realm competition. 1 primitive mystical region slot is enough. Another great being agreed. 1. The darkness-submerged elder spoke tersely. One by one, the officials voiced the same sentiment, most favored leaving the allotment at a single primitive mystical region slot. Then their attention turned to the 2 who had not yet spoken. At that moment, the life aura being's light screen pinged. He glanced at the incoming data and said, I've just received some new information. Everyone should see this. He forwarded the file to the others. A being opened it and read aloud, Special ability, source of life, has not focused on cultivating the space law. Ancestor Tree Venerable. At the mention of Ancestor Tree Venerable, the atmosphere changed. The lightning around one elder intensified and crackled violently. It's not like the Great Axe Battleground lacks the right to host a peak genius battle. The black flame being snapped, rising, black fire roaring. Why would Ancestor Tree Venerable want to take a core member from my virtual universe corporation? Is this data reliable? Another asked, skeptical. Just because his path shows similarities, Does Ancestor Tree Venerable really intend to recruit him? Better safe than sorry, said a voice that had been silent until now. In short, we can't allow the great Axe Battleground to take him. The life aura being proposed, my suggestion, award that child a primitive mystical region slot ourselves. It shows how much the Virtual Universe Corporation values him. Agreed, the lightning-bearded elder snapped. A primitive mystical region member of the Virtual Universe Corporation cannot be poached by the Great Axe Battleground. No objection. Agreed. Concur. Because of Ancestor Tree Venerable's attention, the 9 officials quickly reached a consensus. They would increase this Cosmic Peak Genius Battle's primitive mystical region slots from 1 to 2. Soon after, in the Peak Genius Battle competition space, Gulun Venerable received word and stared in surprise. They increased the primitive mystical region slots from 1 to 2. He frowned, puzzled. He mused aloud, what are the corporation's top brass thinking? That child from Qianwu country has deep insight into the wood law, but he hasn't comprehended any higher law. He shouldn't merit an extra primitive mystical region slot. The Cosmic Peak Genius Battle judged the present, not the future. Gulun Venerable knew no one could predict what the future held. In his view, if Li Qi were to earn a primitive mystical region spot, he should fight for it against KD like everyone else. There was no reason to hand out an extra one. Chapter 134, Li Qi and KD. As the last few geniuses were eliminated, the year-long trial tower preliminary selection finally came to an end. All the contestants, escorted by undying spiritual gods, returned to the buildings of their respective universe countries. 435 building, first floor. Military Lord Koji faced 1,000 geniuses standing before him. In this peak genius battle, our Qianwu universe country performed well in the trial tower preliminary selection, he said. He glanced at Li Qi and the 2 others who had advanced to the one-on-one arena stage, then continued. Besides Li Qi, who ranked second on the points list and thus directly became a core member of Virtual Universe Corporation, 2 others have moved on to the arena battles. Everyone else, Military Lord Koji shook his head. Your journey in this peak genius battle ends here. A low murmur ran through the eliminated geniuses. They had fought for so long to reach this competition, being cut now stung. A few, like Lanka, kept their composure. Don't be too discouraged, Military Lord Kuji said. You still have a chance to become undying spiritual gods. All those eliminated will enter our Qianwu secret realm, the highest genius training center of the Qianwu universe country. Relief spread across many faces. The Qianwu secret realm had been a goal for generations of geniuses. Being sent there was not a consolation prize, but an opportunity. With enough effort, they could still become undying, no less a future than those who entered the core layer of Virtual Universe Corporation. All right, you can log off and leave the virtual universe, or you can wait. Once your teleport is ready, the Virtual Universe system will automatically send you back to your continental islands. He looked to the 3 who remained and added, for tomorrow's qualification battle, prepare yourselves and do your best. Yes, Li Qi and the other 2 bowed respectfully. Li Qi, follow me, Military Lord Kuji said, stepping toward the corridor. You have a good chance to fight for second place. The difference between second and the rest of the top 10 isn't huge, but don't give up. Aim for second. Yes, Li Qi replied. If no one is hiding their true power, your only real rival for second should be the illusionist Fei from the 9 Flame Universe country, Koji said. She placed 126th in the trial tower, but the trial tower is unfriendly to illusionists. A rank outside the top 100 doesn't mean she's weak. Li Qi nodded. He understood how the trial tower skewed results. Martial artists could be disadvantaged, illusionists even more so. In this peak genius battle, apart from him and KD, no one else had reached the 6th trial tower. The only one who could challenge him for second, then, might be this illusionist Fei. You'll see her strength once she makes a move tomorrow, Koji said, then raised a hand. Go, prepare well. Li Qi bowed and left. In the 0435 building lobby, Lanka and a few familiar faces decided to hit the square for a drink. Some players logged off and returned to reality. Most chose to go celebrate, or to drown their disappointment. Not making the core of Virtual Universe Corporation was a bitter blow, but many comforted themselves with wine. then mentally prepared for new training in the Qianwu secret realm. The next morning, 1,004 undying spiritual gods led the 7,300 geniuses who had placed in the trial tower preliminary points to gather in the central square. The moment they assembled, a weightless pressure rolled over them, as if space itself had tensed. Venerable Gulun appeared, clad in fiery red battle robes. The undying spiritual gods saluted in unison. Venerable. The trial tower preliminary selection has concluded, Gulun said with a faint smile. First, congratulations to the trial takers ranked first through 100 on the points list. You will directly enter the core layer of my virtual universe corporation. If any of you do not wish to join my virtual universe corporation, speak now, he added in a voice that was soft but unmistakable. My corporation will never force anyone. Silence answered him. Everyone here had come to compete for a place in the virtual universe. Refusing it now would be unthinkable. Very well, Gulun nodded. Those ranked 101st through 7,300th, 7,200 trial takers, will undergo 3 consecutive rounds of arena battles. The virtual universe system has automatically arranged your matches and paired opponents based on your performance in the trial tower preliminary selection. Winning 3 consecutive rounds will secure you a spot. Defeat means elimination. The system's arrangement is the optimal solution. No one dared argue. Faced with an existence greater than even undying spiritual gods, they accepted his word. Let the arena battles begin. At Gulun's command, a tremor passed through the central square. 7,200 of the geniuses were teleported away, leaving only the top 100 in the square. Those 100 had already secured entry into the core layer of Virtual Universe Corporation, but their final placement, what secret realm they would enter, would be decided later, after the remaining 900 successful contenders were determined through the arena battles. Li Qi scanned the faces of the remaining geniuses without emotion. None of them posed a serious threat to his contention for second. The true contenders were now in the arena rounds. His eyes moved from one person to another until they landed on a blue-haired youth. For the first time that morning, his expression sharpened. KD. He said the name silently in his head. This was the peerless genius he respected or feared most at this moment, and a figure many remembered even though he never appeared in the original records. KD, sensing attention, turned and looked directly at Li Qi. Seeing the black-haired young man with the vertical pupils, he immediately recognized him. It's him, Li Qi Royce, KD murmured. In this peak genius battle, the name to remember was Li Qi, the one who had reached the 5th level of the 6th trial tower, relying solely on lower laws. Apart from Fei, the strongest illusionist in recent competitions, KD hadn't paid much mind to anyone else. There are seats over there. You can watch the live broadcast from there first. Gulun Venerable raised a hand and pointed. In an instant, in a corner of the central square, a row of 100 spacious chairs and several tables appeared. Drinks and snacks were laid out on the tables. He himself took a seat among the 1,004 undying spiritual gods who stood nearby. 100 geniuses moved to take the chairs, but Nuno, the wind-flame genius of the Yan God clan, frowned. He felt slighted. From where he stood, he could see Li Qi and KD looking at one another across the square, paying no attention to anyone else. KD, I'm not your match. Can't I beat you? Nuno called out, unable to hide his indignation. Li Qi turned when he heard his name and recognized Nuno, the wind flame, who had reached the 7th floor of the 5th trial tower, a presence among the strongest besides KD. Others nearby also looked over. Those familiar with the Yan God clan showed sly expressions, anticipating drama. What's wrong? Li Qi asked. I'll beat you, Nuno declared confidently. I'll show you what a true genius is. Beat me? Li Qi blinked, puzzled. He couldn't understand where such swagger came from. Was it foolish pride? He recalled Liang Jingru, instantly killed by the Zerg Queen Mother on the 7th floor of the 5th trial tower, and thought it absurd that someone with so little to show could claim he could defeat him. Reaching the 6th trial tower would be more believable, Li Qi mused. With that, he dismissed the matter and turned toward the chairs in the corner. Nuno stepped forward. Are you scared? Scared? Li Qi stopped, tilted his head, and let out a light, meaningful chuckle. You'll see when you face me. Nuno narrowed his eyes, snorted, and followed him to the corner. The undying spiritual gods who led the teams had overheard the exchange and murmured among themselves. Members of the Yan God clan, without long tempering, always have issues with their personalities. A little arrogant, conceited, selfish. With that great one's protection, what harm is it? Better to say nothing, it will only bring trouble. Right, just watch the match. Because of the Yan God clan's powerful patron, the conversation stopped there. Li Qi sat and watched the floating light screens above the central square. On the screen that showed Fei, the illusionist from Nine Flame Universe Country, whom Li Qi followed closely, only Fei remained on his arena. Fei's match had just ended. Li Qi spread his attention across several screens at once. Within 5 minutes, every arena had finished its battles. 3,600 geniuses had been eliminated, sent home despite having reached the arena stage. Those eliminated were naturally unwilling. They had come so far, on the cusp of entering the Virtual Universe Corporation's core layer. Being in a universe country and being admitted to the Corp's core layer were worlds apart. The 5 great giants were the 5 peak powers of the human race across the universe. Getting in with them was the dream they had chased. Now that dream had become much farther away. Half an hour later, the second round began. Half of the remaining 3,600 fell again, the other half advanced. Li Qi watched Fei's arena again and expected the result. Fei gave his opponent only a glance, and the opponent collapsed. Another half hour passed. After rest and preparation, the third and final round of this stage began. 1,800 geniuses fought in this decisive round. It was do or die. Only one person from each arena could enter the Virtual Universe Corporation's core layer. The loser would be eliminated and sent to a universe country secret realm instead. The difference was stark. Win and you receive the human race's top-tier cultivation resources. Lose and your future of becoming undying was thrown into doubt. He won again. A genius ranked in the top 100 watched as Fei again finished his opponent with a single soul attack. The sight sent a chill through the competitors. KD, Li Qi, Fei, 3 immutable mountains. Whoever met them was crushed, and nobody wanted to meet them. Li Qi studied Fei's current opponent. After suffering a soul attack, the man still showed a spark of determination, only to be consumed the next moment. Li Qi calculated quickly and thought, if that opponent really endured 2 of Fei's soul attacks before collapsing, then my chances aren't negligible. Swish, swish, swish. 900 figures materialized above the central square. Excitement rippled through most of them. After 3 rounds of elimination, 7,200 contestants had been narrowed down to these 900 who had successfully entered the Virtual Universe Corporation's core layer. Li Qi and the other top 100 rose and went to meet the new arrivals. Together with the leaderboard's top 100, these winners made up the 1,000 geniuses who had emerged from this peak genius battle. Congratulations to you all. Gulun Venerable's voice filled the air as he stepped forward in front of the assembled 1,000. You are the 1,000 most outstanding individuals from this genius battle, from all 1,004 universe countries of the human race. The Virtual Universe Corporation will fully cultivate you. If anyone does not wish to enter the Virtual Universe Corporation, speak now. Silence followed. Very well. Gulun smiled, then continued. But understand this. Competition is eternal in the universe. It exists everywhere. You 1,000 cannot receive identical treatment or identical cultivation resources. Our corporation would not dare squander such precious assets. He went on to announce their allocations and opportunities. The 101st through the 1,000th place will each receive a bonus of 10 Hunyuan units, gain entry to the primal universe for comprehension, and be assigned to our core Doomsday Secret Realm. The 11th through the 100th will receive a bonus of 100 Hunyuan units, entry to the primal universe for comprehension, and placement in our core Heaven and Earth Secret Realm. The 3rd through the 10th will receive a bonus of 1,000 Hunyuan units, entry to the primal universe for comprehension, and placement in our core Highest Beginning Mythical Region. The 1st and 2nd places will receive a bonus of 10,000 Hunyuan units, entry to the primal universe for comprehension, and placement in our core Primitive Mystical Region. Under normal circumstances, the primitive mystical region accepts only one person each session. But this time, after discussion by the Virtual Universe Corporation's highest council, 2 slots will be granted. Chapter 136, Misunderstanding, Rules and Status. In the virtual universe, inside a vast palace, an undying spiritual god, his divine form over 20 meters tall and radiating a powerful aura, entered with measured steps and respectfully called Venerable. Ancestor Tree Venerable, robed in green, sat with a divine body that still measured hundreds of meters even while seated. In a deep voice he asked, "What is it?" "Venerable, here is the data you requested." The undying spiritual god bowed slightly. Also, according to the latest news, the Virtual Universe Corporation has released 2 primitive mystical region slots for this peak genius battle. Oh, Ancestor Tree Venerable was mildly surprised. So generous? The undying spiritual god hesitated for a moment. This subordinate believes it's because of your Venerable's attention that the Virtual Universe Corporation opened 2 slots. Ancestor Tree Venerable suddenly understood, waved his hand dismissively, and the undying spiritual god, reading the gesture, withdrew. Opening the data, Ancestor Tree Venerable examined it and found the young fellow indeed bore some resemblance to him in his weaker years. Both possessed the special ability, Source of Life, and had initially focused on cultivating the wood origin law. Yet the youth's talent still wasn't sufficient for the Virtual Universe Corporation to justify recruiting him outright. Ancestor Tree Venerable sighed softly. "Lucky young fellow," he murmured. "Why, lucky?" Earlier, while casually watching the Trial Tower preliminary rounds of this peak genius battle, Ancestor Tree Venerable had asked a passing question. His subordinates remembered it and compiled data, which was then reported up the chain to the Virtual Universe Corporation's higher-ups. They assumed Ancestor Tree Venerable intended to bring the young man into the Great Axe battleground, so they released 2 primitive mystical region slots to show their regard, to signal they were not going to give up on him. Ancestor Tree Venerable did not bother to correct the misunderstanding. The mistake worked in Li Qi's favor. With his current strength, he would very likely get one of the primitive mystical region slots. Meanwhile, in the peak genius battle competition space, Gulun Venerable announced the secret realms and rewards. The central square fell silent. 1,000 geniuses stared in confusion as the names were spoken. Doomsday Secret Realm, Heaven and Earth Secret Realm, Highest Beginning Mythical Region, Primitive Mystical Region. What exactly did these 4 secret realms imply? Everyone could tell at a glance that the primitive mystical region was the best among them. "Among these 1,000, there are gradations of strength," murmured one. "The resources you receive naturally won't all be the same." "Tomorrow the arena battles begin to determine the final rankings," Gulun Venerable said. "The rules for the decisive battles have already been transmitted to each of you. Today, rest well." With that, he vanished, and the immortal team leaders began to confer among themselves. "Unexpected," one said. "Truly unexpected. The peak genius battle actually has 2 primitive mystical region slots." "I don't understand why they'd open 2 slots this year," another muttered. "Katie's primitive mystical region slot is indisputable, but a second slot, incomprehensible." The undying spiritual gods debated in low voices. In their judgment, giving Katie 1 primitive mystical region slot was more than sufficient. A second slot was unnecessary. Outside of Katie, the overall caliber of this year's participants was merely decent. In past years, only a very few, Li Qi and Fei among them, might have had a real shot at first place. Others would be eliminated early, unable even to reach the 6th trial tower. Since the Virtual Universe Corporation had announced 2 primitive mystical region slots, they wouldn't retract them, and the elders used the chance to speculate who might claim the second. "I think Li Qi will take it," one said. "Hard to say. The young fellow from the Fox clan is strong too," another replied. "Both have hope. We'll see after they compete." Li Qi himself was puzzled. Why would the Virtual Universe Corporation's higher-ups add a second primitive mystical region slot? He had self-awareness and knew he hadn't comprehended any higher law. It made no sense for the corporation to feel remorseful and grant an extra slot on that account. Besides, the overall level of this genius battle felt average to him. Nothing like the competition Luo Feng had faced in the original work, which had several geniuses reaching the sixth trial tower. He didn't dwell on it. 2 primitive mystical region slots were good news. He opened his wrist screen to read the rules for the decisive battle. They were as follows. Among the 900 geniuses who had just qualified through the 3 rounds of elimination battles, the virtual universe system would select the top 100 based on their performance in the trial space and the 3 elimination rounds, names like Fei, Luosa, Yudi among them. These 100, together with the top 100 from the trial space who had qualified first, 200 in total, would engage in one-on-one battles. The 100 winners from that stage would be eligible to enter the Heaven and Earth Secret Realm. The remaining 900 would all be consigned to the Doomsday Secret Realm. Among the 100 winners, the virtual universe system would then select the top 20. Those 20 would fight one-on-one to determine the top 10. The top 10 would qualify to enter the highest beginning mythical region. From that top 10, first and second place would be selected to enter the primitive mystical region. A detailed battle list was attached. The notice added that the virtual universe system, with a mechanical universe lord at its core, was not likely to err, yet acknowledged that its decisions might not convince the 800 geniuses sent to the Doomsday Secret Realm. Having finished reading, Li Qi shook his head inwardly. Someone would certainly be unhappy. As he expected, the geniuses sitting in the central square who had been placed into the Doomsday Secret Realm erupted into argument. How can this be? They won't even give us a shot in the decisive battle. This is outrageous. Why use the virtual universe system to make the selection? Why not let us have one-on-one battles ourselves? The rules effectively eliminated 800 of the 1,000 contestants before the decisive battle even began, denying them any chance to show their strength. Naturally, many were disgruntled. Aside from Li Qi and the 200 on the selection list, who appeared relatively calm, most of the others felt deeply unfairly treated. For the moment, they limited themselves to protesting among themselves rather than openly challenging the Virtual Universe Corporation. Wise restraint, or else they would have met the corporation's famously hard line. Watching from afar, the 1,004 immortal team leaders observed the upstart complaints with cold eyes. Since the corporation changed the decisive battle format to the current system, this scene had repeated nearly every session. There were always some who loudly questioned the rules. How foolish, an undying spiritual god scolded the shouting geniuses. The virtual universe system can even simulate universe laws. Its selections will not be wrong. Do you really think the decisive battle rules set by the Virtual Universe Corporation's higher-ups will be changed because you shout? How presumptuous. Young fellows, mark this, another undying spiritual god said. You may be the top-tier geniuses of your respective universe countries, but the Virtual Universe Corporation holds genius battles every 10,000 years targeting astral rank and also grand contests for universe rank. There are countless geniuses out there. Better to stay humble, an elder sneered. If a genius like KD voiced an opinion, the Virtual Universe Corporation might give it consideration, but you are merely one of countless geniuses outside their core circle. Those words cut through the murmurs. The protesting geniuses fell silent, their faces cooling as they finally grasped their true status. Release is near. The 4th volume is almost finished, and I am still writing the outline for the next volume. I hope I can add more chapters when it is released. The next morning, at dawn, the Cosmic Peak Genius Battle Arena was already alive. The 1,000 geniuses who had advanced to the Virtual Universe Corporation's core layer gathered in the central square. Above them, Gulun Venerable floated in fiery red force armor. 1,004 undying spiritual gods who had not departed stood at a distance and bowed in unison. Venerable. Gulun gave a slight nod, then looked down at the gathered geniuses. Today is the decisive day. From among you, the top 100, the top 10, and the top 2 will be determined. First, based on yesterday's match schedule, we will decide the top 100. He waved his hand. 100 enormous arenas instantly rose up in the central square, each ringed and capped by a dark mesh. 2 people filled each arena. Li Qi and 199 other geniuses were teleported into them. Only the victor in each arena would gain access to the heaven and earth secret realm. All eyes, including those of the undying spiritual gods and the 800 geniuses not competing, turned to the arenas where the three preeminent contenders were fighting: KD, Li Qi, and Fei. On Li Qi's arena, 10 kilometers across, a golden-haired youth stood a few kilometers away, saber and shield in hand. Minor, ranked 163 on the trial tower, Li Qi murmured, noting his opponent's details. Minor's face went dark the moment he saw his opponent. From his trial tower preliminary, he'd only reached the 4th floor of the 5th trial tower. Li Qi had already made the 5th floor of the 6th. The gap was obvious, yet Minor grit his teeth. If he couldn't win, at least he would make Li Qi pay. Crack! In a burst of lightning, he became a blue streak, zigzagging with unpredictable angles. He comprehends the law of thunder, Li Qi thought calmly. His speed is impressive. Metal rang as Li Qi formed a 4th-order mind-energy weapon that assembled into 3 yellow-brown shields. At the same time, the green vine pillar behind him pulsed with wood origin, and 9 streams of emerald light shot forward. The 9 azure wood thorns darted after the lightning bolt. Compared with Endless Vine, Azure Wood Thorn is better for dealing with a fast opponent like you, Li Qi said, directing them. The 9 green streams weaved and split, stalking the blue bolt. One flank strike forced Minor to raise his shield. Clang! The blow landed, but the energy shoved him back and slowed his momentum, letting the other streams close in. Minor fumed. Why wasn't Li Qi using Endless Vine, the 2nd form of Green Vine Pillar? Wouldn't that be decisive? Around the arenas, the 800 watched in low voices. Too brutal. The difference in law comprehension is too great. Minor is a top 200 contender, and yet Li Qi is utterly dominating him. KD and Fei finished long ago. That fast? KD's law comprehension outclasses almost everyone. Fei's an illusionist. Their fights end quickly. Back on the arena, Minor's defenses snapped. He blocked 4 of the green streams with his shield and sword, then 3 more slammed in. Clang! He could only stop 1. The 2nd-order force armor couldn't withstand the 5th-order assault from the Green Vine Pillar. 2 azure wood thorns pierced him. He fell dead. Li Qi's first victory sent him into the top 100. His prize rose to 100 Hunyuan, and he had earned entry into the Virtual Universe Corporation's Heaven and Earth secret realm. It's over, Li Qi thought, scanning the other arenas. He felt his win had been a bit slow. KD and Fei were understandable, one for exceptional law comprehension, the other for powerful illusions. But several other matches had also ended before his. He needed to move faster in the next rounds. After the 200 to 100 round would come the 20 to 10 round, and Li Qi recalled the pairing rules. The fastest winners would be matched against the slowest winners, the second fastest against the second slowest, and so on. If his win in the 20 to 10 stage was too slow, he might be matched with KD, a matchup that would almost certainly stop him at the highest beginning mythical region and block his path to the 2nd primitive mystical region spot. He silently hoped his next opponent would not be someone whose specialty was speed and movement. Gulun Venerable hovered above the 100 arenas and addressed the victors. First, congratulations on entering the top 100. You may now enter my Virtual Universe Corporation's Heaven and Earth secret realm. According to the rules, the Virtual Universe system has selected the 20 most outstanding among you. I will now announce their names. The 100 victors stiffened. Only 20 of them would advance to the next round, and those 20 would fight for a place among the top 10 and a ticket into the highest beginning mythical region. Li Qi's face remained calm. With law comprehension second only to KD's and his trial tower record, he was confident he'd be on the list. Gulun began calling names. KD, Li Qi, Fei, Chen Yi, Philip, Manlei. Each name raised anxious looks from those still waiting to hear. When the last name was called, Nuno, a few could not conceal their relief. Gulun smiled and said, "These 20 have been selected by the Virtual Universe system. Rest now and recover from your previous battles. The next round will begin shortly. Your opponents will be revealed when the fight starts." Li Qi's mouth curved into a faint smile as he heard the final name. He allowed himself a brief hope. I hope he isn't eliminated before we face each other. Chapter 138. Entering the Top 10. In the central square, the geniuses who hadn't made the top 20 lounged around casually. They no longer needed to fight, so they chatted and got to know one another, preparing to support each other once they entered the Virtual Universe Corporation's core layer. Congratulations, Cap. You made the top 100, one of them said. Yeah, but I still didn't make the top 20, so I can't compete for a spot in the highest beginning mythical region's top 10. I'm a bit disappointed, Cap replied. You're disappointed? I should be even more upset. I didn't even crack the top 100, another sighed. Haha, Minor, you lost badly this time. No choice. I ran into Mad Demon Li Qi and got crushed, Minor admitted. Li Qi's strength is enormous. Only KD and Fei might be able to beat him, someone else said. While the outsiders chatted, the 20 who had made the list sat apart, catching their breath and adjusting their statuses. Li Qi sat cross-legged with his eyes closed, calmly tuning himself. He wasn't overly worried about the 20-10 round. Barring a fluke from the virtual universe system that put him in KD's group, his chances of entering the top 10 were very high. He didn't claim absolute certainty, only because Fei, the only illusionist among the 20, was still a wild card. Someone's gaze made him open his eyes. Nuno of the Yan God clan stood watching with a hostile expression. Li Qi couldn't help the smirk that crossed his face. He increasingly wanted to meet Nuno in the next round. About half an hour later, the square shuddered. 10 enormous arenas rose from the plaza, each rimmed with a lattice of black threads. In an instant, Li Qi and the other 20 were teleported into the 10 fighting spaces. Chenyi and Philip are in trouble, someone called. Chenyi drew KD, and Philip drew Li Qi, another replied. Hokuri's luck's bad too, he got Fei. The crowd outside the arenas buzzed. Anyone watching could guess the likely outcomes for those unfortunate 3. Inside one arena, Chenyi glared across at KD, both stone-faced. My luck's terrible, Chenyi thought. In another, the bald youth Philip frowned when he saw his opponent was Li Qi. He held 2 heavy shields and felt his confidence drain. As an Earth origin law specialist who had grasped a trace of space law, Philip favored a defensive style. Wear down opponents, wait for the right moment. That conservative play had kept his Trial Tower preliminary ranking out of the top 100. He'd made it into the core layer only through 3 rounds of combat. If I hadn't drawn Li Qi, even if I faced Fei, I might have stood a chance, Philip told himself. Li Qi smiled when he saw Philip's dual shields. Let's see if your defense can withstand my endless vine. With a thought, the green vine pillar behind Li Qi responded. 2 vines braided together shot forward, growing and stretching. Philip's face went pale. Although he'd learned a sliver of space law, his movement speed was only average, slower than Li Qi's. He tried to sidestep, thinking to stall and wait for the arena to shrink before counterattacking, but the vine's growth was faster than he expected. The endless vine wasn't the short, thick tendril Li Qi had used in the Trial Tower. It elongated into a long, sinuous rope, dozens, even hundreds of meters, slavering across the arena like a living noose. Philip realized with a jolt that Li Qi had been holding back earlier. Trapped against the arena's black-meshed edge, Philip watched as the vine surged and compressed, cutting off his escape routes. He raised his shields. Rather than wait to be swallowed, Philip launched himself at the green tangle with both shields swung like blades. The sharp rims of his 5th-tier battle shields bit into the vine with metallic clangs. Deep gashes opened, and green sap drifted up in shimmering fragments. Now it ends, Philip roared, pouring everything into the assault. Li Qi's expression didn't change. He focused, and the endless vine lashed and rearranged itself with terrible speed. In an instant, it coiled around Philip like a living cocoon, tightening in a brutal, irresistible squeeze. Cracks and snaps echoed as bone met constriction. Philip screamed once, then again, and his shouts were swallowed by the arena. When the vine finally unwound and its fragments flew back toward Li Qi, Philip's body lay twisted and broken on the ground, lifeless. With Philip's death, Li Qi secured his victory in that match and a spot in the Virtual Universe Corporation's highest beginning mythical region. He scanned the other arenas and noted only 2 had finished so far. The winners were KD and Fei. His victory had been the 3rd, meaning he wouldn't be matched against either of them in the next selection. Minutes later, every arena had ended. The 10 victors stood on their platforms as Gu Lun Venerable, clad in fiery red battle robes, teleported into midair. An invisible pressure rolled off him, forcing the crowd to fall silent. "Congratulations to the 10 victors," Gu Lun announced. "You have entered the top 10. Your prize has been raised to 1,000 Hunyuan units, and you may enter the highest beginning mythical region." He continued, "Shortly we will select the top 5 from among you 10, and then the first and second places will be chosen from that top 5. According to the virtual universe system's rules, your last match times will determine the next pairings. The fastest time will face the slowest, the second fastest will face the second slowest, and so on." Chapter 139, Li Qi vs. Nuno. When Gu Lun Venerable announced the rules, the 3 geniuses with the slowest winning speeds went pale. According to the new rule, their opponents in the next round would be the universally acknowledged top 3. They knew then that their run in the peak genius battle was almost certainly over. Chris is really unlucky. Coming last means he faces KD straight away. What's unlucky about that? They already made the top 10 and have secured entry into the Virtual Universe Corporation's highest beginning mythical region. Still, with KD and those other 2 in the mix, no one else can hope to get into the top 2. As Gu Lun finished, the eliminated contestants muttered about the poor luck of those who had to face the established top 3. The 1,004 undying spiritual gods watched and discussed among themselves. Since the Trial Tower pre-selection, there had been no real surprises. The 3 recognized elites had kept their overwhelming dominance. Not long after, KD, Li Qi, and Fei each defeated their opponents and advanced to the top 5. The remaining 2 matches ended with victories for Nuno and Man Lei, both scions of major clans. Nuno belonged to the Yan God clan, a supernal house and one of the human race's highest echelons. Man Lei was from the Wild God clan. The Wild God clan and the Mankastar people were the royal families of the barbaric universe country, boasting first-grade human bloodlines that reached domain lord upon maturity. Thus the top 5 were settled: Liu Universe Country, KD; Qianwu Universe Country, Li Qi; Nine Flame Universe Country, Fei; Barbaric Universe Country, Man Lei; Lan Ting Universe Country, Nuno. Gu Lun Venerable, clad in flaming red battle armor, materialized above the arena. An invisible pressure rolled over everyone, and the crowd fell silent in respect. "After these exciting battles, the top 5 have been decided," he said with a smile. "We will now begin the top 5 reincarnation battle. Each of the 5 will fight 1 match against each of the other 4. A victory earns 1 point. The first and second places will be determined by total points." After Gu Lun left, the eliminated geniuses continued to chatter. "The rules are fair. Very fair. Except for KD, everyone else effectively starts with a loss. If they win 3 of their 4 matches, they lock in second place." Haha, what a fight for second. The reincarnation battle began. In the first round, 2 matches were staged: KD versus Man Lei and Li Qi versus Nuno. Fei had a bye. Li Qi teleported onto the arena. From the distant transmission, Nuno's voice came loud and clear. "Li Qi, I told you, I will defeat you." "Humph," Li Qi sneered. "All talk." Nuno raised his halberd, pointing it at Li Qi. "Then let's see if you can back it up." At once, Nuno's body blurred and split into 2 phantasmal images. Even his main form flickered, as if cloaked in time-law turbulence, becoming hard to tell apart from his after-images. The 2 figures drifted unpredictably and surged toward Li Qi at extreme speed. "Time phantoms," several of the undying spiritual gods exclaimed. "So he's not only got wind and fire origin laws, he's even brushed the time law. His talent's good, but 2 phantom images aren't enough to overwhelm Li Qi. The gap in laws is too big." Their surprise was mild and late. The match had already begun. "Your talent's impressive. You've even touched time law on top of 2 lower-level laws," Li Qi said, a hint of surprise in his voice. Then a crooked smile spread across his face. "But trying to take me down with a single phantom image of time law? Overambitious." He transmitted his voice and shifted his mind power. Wood origin fluctuations unfurled from the green vine pillar behind him. A green shimmering vine shot forward with a rasping crack, the endless vine, striking toward the 2 incoming phantoms. Nuno split his figures wider, one attacking from the left, the other from the right. The endless vine disintegrated mid-flight, shattering into 9 streams of green light. Those streams further split and swarmed the twins. What? Nuno's real body, among the two figures, barely dodged. The other phantom was struck by 5 green beams and with a soft pop burst like a soap bubble. Found you, Li Chi cried. Seeing one figure vanish, Li Chi pressed his advantage. A needle-like thrust of mind power shot forward, soul-piercing needle, the mind power secret technique he'd acquired at the stellar cultivation camp. The strike forced Nuno's figure to hesitate. Though he recovered quickly, that brief pause was enough. The 4 remaining streams of green light coalesced into a compact endless vine and wrapped around Nuno's arm. Damn it! Nuno snarled and began a rapid retreat, trying to wrench the vine free with his left hand. Nearby fragments of the green vine pillar drew in like a current and flowed together, feeding the endless vine into a thick, writhing green stream. Nuno shifted the halberd to his left hand and slashed at the vine. His first swing cut through air. The converging stream was made of many small components and was difficult to strike. For the second slash, he struck the vine around his arm with the haft. The halberd rang metallically as it bit into the green flesh of the vine. A deep gash opened and faint light seeped from it, but it was only a minor wound. The endless vine kept growing, coiling, and spreading up his arm, crawling over his chest and shoulders. Nuno roared in fury. He struck again and again, but couldn't stop the plant from tightening. The vine constricted, bones cracked with creaks and snaps. Within moments, Nuno was crushed under the endless vine's squeezing grip. He died. Li Chi's first match was a clear victory. The undying spiritual gods murmured among themselves. This Yan God clan youth has potential, but he's jack of all trades and master of none. Exactly. His law comprehension is far below Li Chi's, and his soul defense is weak. Soul defense has always been his weak point. He collapsed instantly to the Zerg Queen Mother in Trial Tower 5, and even in Trial Tower 4 he struggled. Faye will do the same to him later. Below the arena, Faye watched Li Chi's match with a furrowed brow. Seeing Li Chi use soul techniques to disrupt Nuno worried her. He can use soul attacks too, she murmured. Li Chi's ability to launch soul interference showed a strong will and a decent soul secret technique. That was bad news for her. Chapter 140, Li Chi vs. Fei. Li Chi turned his head to watch the neighboring arena. The corpse that had lain there a moment before was gone. KD had won his match. A shimmering screen appeared overhead, displaying the point standings for the reincarnation battle. KD led with 1 point. Li Chi was tied with 1 point as well, but because KD had ended his fight earlier, he occupied the top spot in the event of a tie. Fei had not yet fought and held third by virtue of a bye. Nuno and Man Lei occupied 4th and 5th. After a brief pause, the second round began. The matchups were Li Chi versus Man Lei and Fei versus Nuno. KD had the bye this round. Man Lei was a formidable foe, masterful in the laws of earth and fire, offensively and defensively sound, but his movement technique was sluggish. Li Chi took advantage of that weakness. He trapped Man Lei with his endless vine, compressed the space around him, and finished him by crushing his form until it broke. In the other arena, Fei struck at the one place Nuno could not defend, his soul. An illusionist who specialized in soul attacks, she tore through his defenses and Nuno collapsed, instantly dead. With the second round concluded, Li Chi sat in first with 2 points. Fei and KD trailed with 1 apiece. After another interval, the third round began. The undying spiritual gods and the eliminated competitors called it the second-place deciding battle. The pairings were Li Chi versus Fei and KD versus Nuno. If Li Chi won this round, his total would climb to 3 points, and he would be guaranteed at least second place, even if he later lost to KD. If Fei won, she would reach 2 points and could clinch second by defeating Manly in a subsequent match. Haha, it's finally here. Yeah, the second-place decider. Whoever wins will be second. Who do you think will win? Li Chi, Fei, Li Chi. The majority favored Li Chi. The arena was draped with a black silk net. Li Chi stood on a 4th-tier mind energy weapon as he faced Fei across the field. She was striking, snow-white skin, delicate features, an outfit that invited imagination despite its modesty, and a pair of fluffy white fox ears atop her head. Up close, she was utterly beguiling. Li Chi acknowledged her beauty, but his resolve was iron. He wanted only to resurrect his elder brother and extend his family's life. Distractions like women would only slow him. Faye's eyes gleamed, and an invisible mind force slid into his sea of consciousness. Inside his boundless mind, a vast black eye began to turn, an eye assembled from countless curved lines whose center held the origin of the lines and the soul core. Faye's subtle mind power did not strike the distortion eye outright. Instead, it threaded into some of its lines. Soul Defense secret techniques were, after all, mind power arranged with precise order. Mind power itself carries a sliver of consciousness. When Faye's threads seeped into those lines, Li Qi was pulled into an illusion. He found himself standing on a crowded city street, bewildered. A soft feminine voice whispered in his ear, "Li Qi, you've finally broken through to the astral rank." A gentle, beautiful woman took his hand and smiled. "My parents have agreed to meet you now." "Meet me?" Li Qi asked, confused. "Why?" "To discuss our marriage, of course," she answered brightly. "You must do well when you meet them. Whether we can marry depends on today." "Marriage?" He repeated the word absently. "Family." The woman's talk of family struck something in him. He muttered the word again, this time with growing weight. Family. As the thought hardened, black arcs formed in the blue sky above the bustling city. One became two, then three, then countless black arcs revolving until they coalesced into a distorted black eye turning slowly above the skyline. Buildings and people began to show hairline cracks. Crack, crack, crack. The fissures lengthened and spread. The woman beside him cracked across her cheek, her eyes frozen in fear. He touched her forehead. With a snap, she shattered into a shower of fragments. The city followed, each structure collapsing into shards as if the world itself were made of pottery. Amid the ruin, a voice in his mind spoke, "I remember now." He tore his gaze upward to the rotating black eye and cried, "Distortion eye!" The illusion collapsed. In the real arena, the distortion eye in the sky spun at extreme speed. Li Qi's awareness snapped back. On his cue, the fourth-tier mind energy weapon beneath him reconfigured with a thought, forming 3 concentric shields that covered his body. A cone-shaped burst of mind energy slammed into those shields with a ringing clang. How was this possible? Faye's face displayed genuine shock. Anyone who saw her would fall under her god-bewitching art. That was her specialty. How had he broken free so quickly? She had seen Li Qi's profile. Only a century of cultivation, a comparatively thin will. Young temperaments tended to be easily beguiled by women. Her god-bewitching art was tailored to such weaknesses. She surged her own mind-energy weapon to defend, but as an illusionist, her controlling power in direct confrontation was weaker. 9 streams of green light erupted from the green vine pillar behind Li Qi and shot straight across the arena toward Faye. "I lost," Faye hissed, snapping the last thread of her concentration. She forced her mind-energy weapon up as a shield, but it was designed for trickery, not physical endurance. The 9 green streams struck. 2 seconds later, her defense shattered. Mind-energy defenses collapsed, Faye's form ruptured, and she fell, lifeless. The attack finished. The arena fell silent as Li Qi stood where he had been, the green light subsiding, his distortion eye still faintly turning in his mind.